Welcome everyone. This is Andres Restart, your host for the weekly podcast we have here Monday nights 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We are joined by Brandon from What About Nintendo, Will from Little the Deity, and we have a special guest, James from Slow Speedrun. Thanks for coming on board, man. I'm really excited to have you on.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, so for you guys who don't know Slow Speedrun, right? James, he runs a Pokemon channel, right? It's pretty much entirely Pokemon, right? From what I've seen.
Yeah, I'm kind of debating on breaking out a little bit, but for right now, I'm a Pokatuber. So
yeah,
that's just how the cards fell there.
Yeah, and you're a great one at that. So if you guys want to really keep up with all the Pokemon news and speculation and rumors and actual hard real news, check out James's channel, Slow Speedrun. The link is in the description below, along with Brandon and Will's channel as well. So yeah, we have cool stuff to talk about. This is gonna be mostly a Pokemon focused discussion this time, guys. But we do still have some pretty interesting stuff to run through as well. So I'm just gonna quickly go over the outline right now. We're gonna talk about how there's not gonna be any Call of Duty on Switch this year, apparently. Then we're gonna be talking about how Resident Evil 7 Cloud Edition was announced over the weekend in Japan for the Switch. Then we're gonna be going over Mario Tennis Aces for a little bit, and then we're gonna be getting into some Smash rumors that I saw actually a few days ago, but only apparently now it came into mainstream media, so I figure we might as well talk about it. And then we're going to get into Pokemon. We're going to talk about our Pokemon Direct predictions whenever that happens, and then we're going to talk about Pokemon Let's Go and all the 4chan rumors and what we think may or may not be real and what we think of the game. So, yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Yeah, but is there anything you guys want to sort of, I guess, what have you guys been doing this week? Anything, I guess, any interesting games you've been playing? We don't play games. We don't have time to play games.
Yeah, we're just so busy with YouTube. We don't have time for games. I mean, I beat Uncharted 4. I did a lot of non-Nintendo stuff this last week. Excuse me. I beat Uncharted 4. Played some Horizon. I guess today I did play Pokemon Sun and Moon, or Moon, I guess. So that was fun. Beat my first Island Kahuna. For anybody who doesn't know, this is my first Pokemon game ever. So.
Yeah, he's streaming Pokemon Moon. It's his first time playing through a Pokemon game. It's kind of crazy because I've been playing Pokemon. My first Pokemon game is actually Pokemon Silver. That was my very first Pokemon game. And then I got Pokemon Yellow and then Gold, and I've played every generation since. But yeah, actually, James, when did you start playing Pokemon?
I was right there in Gen 1. Christmas of the year it came out. I had to have it. Just had to. So I mean, that's how it all got started. But I have to say that Silver was really when I started falling in love with the series, Yeah. And that's when I really started understanding what I was doing. Pokemon Blue was my first venture into it, but I didn't understand a lot of what was going on. I mean, I beat the game, but Silver is really, Gen 2 is really where it took off for me.
Yeah, like I said, I started with Generation 2, but Generation 2, it's kind of like my favorite generation because it was at that point where the graphics and technology were advanced enough to really convey the ideas, but it still was simple in the way so your creativity really still shaped the world in your mind, right? So it's easier to, I guess, envision, and on top of that, you got nostalgia. And all the 8 and 16-bit music. It was a beautiful experience.
Oh, great soundtrack.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really cool. Will, if I remember correctly, you're a Pokemon hater, right? I know you're not a hater. I'm just kidding.
Call him out, why don't you? Wow.
Yeah. He's not a hater.
No, I don't play the. I don't play the mainline ones, and I probably never will, honestly. But I do I'm just in general. I am a huge Pokemon fan. So.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. The mainline games are different sort of breed, right? You have all sorts of different kinds of Pokemon games, and there's the anime, there's the card game, right? There's tons of stuff there. But I mean, I guess. Yeah, there's Pokken, there's Pokemon Snap, there's Pokemon Stadium, there's Mystery Dungeon games, there's the Pocket Rumble, there's all sorts of spin-off Pokemon games that are all kind of good in their own right.
Don't forget Puzzle League.
Oh, I love Puzzle League. Actually, Puzzle League was one of my favorite game. This was one of my favorite Game Boy games. But since we're talking about Game Boy games, there's another game that I really loved. That was also Pokemon. The Pokemon trading card game. That.
Oh, for the Game Boy Color.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That was sick. It was sick. And actually, we'll talk about Mario Tennis Aces in a bit. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was made by the same team, but Mario Tennis Aces is kind of starting to give me some of those like Mario Tennis vibes from the Game Boy as well. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. But we're gonna start moving into all the discussions. We'll talk about tennis and Mario Tennis Aces and Pokemon really soon. But how's everyone doing in the chat? Hey Vegeta, hey Sabbath, hey Snowman. How you guys doing? Vegeta-san saying he started with Gen 1. Sabbath's first Pokemon game was on Pokemon Stadium on the N64. I love the mini games on Pokemon. Well, I loved everything about Pokemon Stadium. I kind of wish they made more of it.
That's not a bad place to start, to be honest. Stadium 2 was good.
Yeah. I actually did play Stadium, but Moon was my first mainline game, I should point out. I did play Stadium way back in the day.
Yeah. I just felt like back then the graphics for Pokemon Stadium were like really impressive.
They were mind-blowing, man.
They were really good. And of course you could, if you had the GBA pack, you could slot it into your N64 controller and you can play your Game Boy games and on the television, which back then that was, you know, now we have the Switch, right, where that's kind of like a given, but it isn't, you know, actually it's still kind of hard to put your Pokemon Sun and Moon game on your television, right? You have to like run Citra and stuff like that. But back then that was a big deal. But yeah, Pokemon Stadium was it was kind of like a fantastic like companion game to the actual Pokemon games. Like if you had both, you had like the ultimate full Pokemon experience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, we'll get to more Pokemon in a moment, but let's talk about I guess Call of Duty. So, you know, there was a Call of Duty reveal this week, Black Ops 4, right? And they revealed it. They showed off a trailer for. There was no campaign, but they showed off a trailer for the multiplayer, showed off a trailer for the zombies mode, and they showed off a concept trailer for Battle Royale mode. No single player, and also no announcement or confirmation of a Switch version, and then they even had an official press release where there is no Switch version. They literally said there is no Switch version. They didn't say we have no plans at this time, right? Leaving the door open. They just said flat out no Switch version. So then, I mean, are any of you guys here big Call of Duty fans, or you have played some of the games? What do you guys think when you hear that there's no Call of Duty coming to Switch this year?
For me, I've never been a huge Call of Duty fan, but I've seen people play the games. I played a little bit of myself, but recently got Black Ops 3 on the Xbox One, and let me tell you, it is terrible. Absolutely shit. Like, it is so bad. Okay, so I tried to play it. We bought it to play split screen campaign and some online multiplayer. And so we got it. We went into split screen campaign, you know, to learn the mechanics before we jumped into multiplayer. And it is so bad. It is literally like 20 frames per second. It's usually like the highest frame rate you get in that game. It's almost unplayable. It runs super bad. It's less than 720p. It looks like it looks really bad. It runs really bad. It's just overall a terrible experience. So I'm not all that shocked that the Switch isn't getting a version of the next Black Ops games, because none of the Call of Duty games even run well on the more powerful hardware that they're already supporting. I feel like, and it's not even the fact that the games just have such mind-blowing graphics that, you know, there's no way these consoles could run them. Like, it just feels unoptimized. They don't look that good to begin with, and they don't run well at all. So I just feel like, I don't know what's up with Activision and Treyarch, but they do not optimize their games. They just go for kind of the brute force approach. Just, you know, like the more powerful consoles run it, but, you know, screw the original versions. We don't really care. So I just don't see them. Yeah, it just makes sense that they're not taking the time to put it on the Switch, because they seem kind of lazy these days, to be honest.
It's an interesting perspective, because I actually played a lot of Black Ops 2 on the the Wii U. And actually, this is probably one of my most played games on the Wii U, but I blame Nintendo for not releasing that many big Nintendo games on the Wii U. But, you know, I had a good time with this game. I thought it was a really fun game. Zombies was fun, multiplayer was fun. The campaign was pretty mediocre. But, you know, it's kind of the same story with Call of Duty, which is probably why they're jumping it this time around, because not that many people even played through the campaign. Like, actually, I have World War II. See, all the names are all jumbled up, but like I didn't play. I played like the first hour of the campaign. I was like, oh wow, this is kind of boring, and I've just played a little bit of multiplayer and zombies. And here's the thing, I prefer single player games. I'm a single player dude. I don't play online that much. I'm not the person who has 300 hours on Splatoon. I have like 80, right? Because I 100% of the campaign, and I put in a decent amount of time in multiplayer, but not as much as a lot of other people. And I don't like the campaigns of Call of Duty. So I think it's a good idea that they're dumping that. I think they're kind of heading in a smart direction for Call of Duty, but I don't like that they aren't bringing it to the Switch. I think that is kind of an issue because the Switch is a hot market item. Like every game is selling really well on the Switch. Now, I guess, you know, Activision isn't really sure on sales, but you would think that they would want to take advantage of the sales that are happening on the Switch. It's weird.
Are we 100% sure that it was Activision's decision and not Nintendo's decision to not have it on the Switch?
That's an interesting...
I feel like Nintendo wouldn't say no. I mean, they have more mature games on the Switch. I mean, they have Bethesda is putting Wolfenstein 2 on there. They got Doom on there. They got what's that other like police game they have? I don't remember the name exactly. But they have more mature games than, you know, Call of Duty.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I mean, it's we're talking about like other Call of Duty games on Nintendo systems in the past haven't done all that well at all. And I think it's because, like you said, the hardware limitations, that Nintendo isn't trying to compete with Sony and Microsoft anymore, and like, you know, in horsepower. They're focusing on their own market. So I don't think they see Call of Duty as a big asset for their audience. I mean, I think the more mature titles they have on there now are very like they're very meticulous. Like they had to think about that, I'm sure, before putting that on there to see if their target demographic would actually want to play that. And I think they're smart about what they've done.
So upon thinking about it a little bit more, I think you're making some great points. And to add to that, actually, now that I think about it, right, the thing about, because I literally was just talking about how they're dumping the single player, right, for Call of Duty. Well, here's the thing. The Switch is a portable system, right? So if you're out away from your house where you have your wireless or internet, right, it's hard to be connected to the internet with your Switch when you're on the go. And Call of Duty is becoming a predominantly online-only game. So now that I think about it in that regard, all of a sudden, they would have to come up with a way for the portability, or they're not really taking advantage of the portability, so then why even bring it over to the Switch? So to what you're saying, right, how they have to really think about it, how it fits. Right now, the way Call of Duty is, I guess it doesn't fit the Switch as well as it does on the other systems, so it's not worth the investment right now.
That's a good point, because like you said, they've dumped their single player. The Switch right now doesn't even have. It does have online. It's going towards the paid online. But yeah, right now in portable mode, all the game on Call of Duty is gone because there is no single player. So you're stuck at home when the Switch is designed to be portable.
Right.
So I mean,
yeah.
I think they did say that there was going to be single player like zombies. So I think maybe there might be like one or two small modes.
Right, you can play on zombies, but it still minimizes the package, right? Like, because you've always been able to play zombies offline, right? But now there's even less content that you can play offline, right? Which that minimizes the amount of value you have portably, right? Which is the whole draw of the Switch. And on top of that, like you were saying, that the Nintendo's online service, yeah, they have it, but it's still not up and going yet. We don't know how good it's going to be, and that sort of system, that network, could potentially cause some sort of issues with Activision. They may want to have their own network. There may be some sort of trouble there, or communication, or some things they have to deal with. So, I see how there's actually several issues that could lead to there being complications for a Switch version. I still think it's possible, and I feel like eventually we still have to get COD on Switch. But I guess in terms of like the way the development cycle was, it wasn't worth the investment at this point. But maybe by next year, right, once there's even more Switches out on the market and more time has passed, they will have had more time to adapt and put COD on the Switch. But I guess for this time, it just wasn't worth it considering everything.
Yeah, there's way too much in the air on both parts, I think, for Nintendo or Activision to be like, yeah, let's go ahead and make the Switch port happen. Because, Activision has no idea what Nintendo's online feature, how it's going to perform, how people are going to react to it. We don't know anything about it, hardly. So, I mean, and Nintendo and Activision's track record with their past games, Call of Duty games, haven't done so well. So, really, there's just too much up in the air for anyone to be sure of if it's going to be a worthwhile investment, like you said. So, yeah, I think you're right. After everything is kind of settled down, the game release, the Nintendo Online comes out, and they all see how it kind of performs, maybe then they'll reevaluate and move forward with it. So,
yeah, I agree. Go on, Will.
I think to touch on, one of you guys said something about it earlier, but I do think it is I think it's more so Nintendo knows that, like, they know it exists, and I don't think either one of them care. Like with Activision, like, it's usually not a cost thing, and it's usually not a big deal because the Switch, it's clearly like it's way less powerful than the other systems. That's usually not a problem. I think they are beyond like having the incentive to put it on the Switch simply because they'll make money. I mean, it's COD, it's going to make money no matter where it goes. So I think it's more of like a mindset thing. Like, Activision plays this game between Microsoft and Sony where they Sony approaches Microsoft and they're like, we're going to give you all this money to lock certain stuff to our platform. And then Microsoft's like, no, you're going to, lock certain stuff to our platform, and here's a lot of money from us. And like Slow said, Nintendo usually isn't interested in playing that game. Like,
they don't care.
Just aren't. And so yeah, I kind of agree that as far as Activision goes, they don't really see COD as a Switch thing. Like, Activision, they've put Crash on the Switch, so I mean, they know that the Switch is a money maker. It's just not a good fit for COD.
Yeah, I see that, because like you said, Activision is supporting the Switch. It's not like there's some sort of bad blood between Activision and Nintendo. They see it as a profitable platform. It's just COD at this point, I guess, isn't worth it considering all the complications.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to play it on the Switch because I don't think they would treat it right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like you said earlier, there is a lot of, it already is kind of hard to have a smooth experience on the more powerful systems. On the Switch, it would be even harder to optimize it for that. So yeah, I think I kind of agree with all of you guys, and it makes sense. I think it's still unfortunate that it's not on the Switch, but at the same time, there's so many other games coming to Switch. I think most Switch fans are gonna be okay. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah,
I don't
Definitely.
think. I mean, a lot of Switch fans just kind of don't care.
That's pretty true.
Yeah.
Like, I've already seen like a couple people in the chat right now. They're just like, I don't care. So I don't know.
Yeah, but though a lot of us here are like the hardcore Nintendo fans, right? But there's a lot of casual Switch players who are not necessarily only on Switch because it's Nintendo. They're doing it because it's like the hot system right now that's getting a lot of games, who maybe have come from Xbox or PlayStation, and they might have that expectation that COD would be on the Switch. So I do see there being at least a small audience to be like, oh, why isn't this on Switch? But again, overall, there are so many games that I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
No, usually people don't. I mean, overall, like, it's not really, to me, it's not really that relevant of a number of people, because usually, I mean, like Slow said, it's COD. Usually, it has a big history of just being clearly the inferior version on the Nintendo platform. So I mean, I don't know, not sure. There are also some people that have that sort of notion going in their head.
That's true.
Yeah. That is also true. A lot of people just assume COD is just not worth it on Nintendo. That is also true. Yeah, so let's see what some of you guys think in the chat. Sav is saying, honestly, I think Nintendo is starting to see that people won't buy a Call of Duty game on a Nintendo console because people still think the Nintendo consoles aren't powerful enough. Vegeta agrees. I mean, like, I think the Switch is powerful enough, but I do think there's so many complications that they probably weren't willing to optimize, right? Like, Bethesda's optimizing their games for Switch, right? Like, it's possible. It's just kind of more about logistics than anything else. Because it probably is harder. And that, so to your point, I'm not disagreeing with it, just kind of saying that it is possible. But, yeah. Hey, Kevin Rivera. Yeah, there's a lot of Call of Duty games on the Wii. I thought they were pretty good. But, again, they were still inferior to the 360 and PS3 versions back then. So, yeah. Hey, Danger Mouse, how you doing? What's up, No Filter? Yeah, I kind of agree. Like to what I was saying earlier about the Wii, it did have really good motion controls. I enjoyed that a lot. But I don't know if they'll do that. They could with the Joy-Cons, actually. They could bring back the Wii controls on the Switch if they were to have another COD game with the Joy-Cons. They could do something like that if they wanted to. Or they could go for gyro aiming like what they did with Doom. So that's a possibility moving forward.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That's totally possible.
Yeah. So maybe next year, right? But this year it's not happening. So, there'll be other shooters like Wolfenstein 2 to play, right? Although that's not an online game, but there's Doom. There's Doom.
I don't ever believe anything Activision says. So, with that being said, I do think that they're kind of liars. But yeah, as far as we know, it's not coming this year. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to even entertain the idea of a surprise E3 announcement because let's not. If it happens, it happens, but it's not going to happen. So don't.
Maybe not E3, but I do think it would happen.
Yeah.
Maybe they're making a Switch exclusive one with a campaign.
Maybe.
Maybe just the campaign on the Switch.
Yeah, maybe. That's what a single player went. So let's talk about Resident Evil 7 Cloud Edition. That was announced yesterday, I think. So basically, it's only in Japan right now. I don't know if they made some sort of announcement like an hour ago. That it for approximately, I don't know much again, but basically $18 American, you can get Resident Evil 7 for 180 days. And you only download like 45 megabytes. You don't download the whole game. You download like just a small little thing. And the game's actually being streamed to your Switch, right? So if you have a good internet connection, then you can play Resident Evil 7 with graphics that are on par with the PS4 version, but because it's inherently online and being streamed through the cloud, you can't take it on the go unless you have a kick-ass phone with an unlimited data. That even then, I don't think it would be a good idea, but basically, you have to cloud stream to play the game. It's not actually on the Switch, it's being streamed.
Yeah, you said the key thing right there. If you have a good internet connection, so I mean, what happens if you pay that money and then find out you don't? It has a buffer every 2 minutes or something. That would kind of kill the immersion in that game. If I'm being honest, that would kill the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
I imagine that they'll probably have some kind of standard of how fast your internet should be. Like they'll probably have that like in the description. They'll probably have it under like a little thing that says your internet should be such and such download speed and such upload speed to play the game smoothly. And you just go over to your Switch, I guess. You do the little test to see how fast your internet connection is on your Switch, and if it's on par, then you're good. And if not, then I guess you don't get to have it. But yeah, it's still kind of.
Is this a service? I didn't know anything about this until you sent me the show outline. So I don't know much about it, but is this a deal through, like, is this something Nintendo's designing, like the streaming service, or is this some other party?
It's actually an interesting question, because I saw like a cloud symbol, like there's a bit of a branding that I saw in the trailer, like it was like kind of like an orange cloud, kind of like the same color as eShop, but this is the first I've heard about it. Like I haven't seen any statements about a special like cloud setup that Nintendo has, but maybe they do have some sort of setup in the background, or maybe it's purely from Capcom servers. I feel like it's still purely from Capcom servers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's because my point there was that Nintendo is usually pretty user friendly. Like they would think about that sort of thing, that they would want the majority of their users to be able to use this service if they're going to pour money into it, So they would have to find some way to make it to where most internet connections, the average internet connection, whether it be fast or slow, still be able to use this, pretty regularly. So if it's Nintendo, I would be interested to learn more about it to see how they're pulling this off, because I mean, not everyone, a lot of people don't have really fast internet, so.
Yeah. And the other thing I should point out, though, right, is that this has only been announced for Japan right now, right? And in Japan, they have much better internet connections overall by a lot.
That's true.
So
Very
it
true.
may work in that market, right, that whole package, but in this market, it may be completely different. So we should take that into consideration. I personally, because I have a great internet connection, I would be like, oh, $18 for a game that if they were to port onto Switch normally it'd be $60, and I want to play it on the Switch, I'll do it. That would be great for me because I haven't played Resident Evil 7
And that's
yet.
all the DLC too, right?
All of the DLC. All of it, yeah. So I actually think it's a good deal. If you're okay with not owning it, and you have a good internet connection, and you don't want to play it portably, and you haven't played it yet.
That's my big thing. If I pay money for a game, I want to have it. Now, I used to be a real physical copy kind of guy. Like I want to be able to see all my games on the shelf. I've moved away from that. I can handle digital stuff now, but I still want to be able to play it when I don't want to have, download it and then 181 days later I'm like, maybe I'll play that game now, and then I missed it. I paid $18 for nothing.
Yeah.
No, I would definitely be playing it day one, but that was just a weird, like I wasn't done with the game in the 180 days because I like to take my time or something.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone beats games that quickly. Some people are a slower pace. They play different stuff. They do different stuff in life, so they don't beat a game that might take 20 to 40 hours in 6 months. There are some people who just get one big game a year, and they may play that for a really, really long time. That's all they play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, like, on one hand, I know cloud gaming is getting very popular in Japan just as of late. So I can't help but wonder if it'll come physically to the West, if at all. Like because and we heard this before the Switch was even out. No, it was like a couple months after it was out. The Resident Evil engine runs perfectly on the Switch. That was like one of the first engines optimized for the Switch. So I'm wondering if it does come, will it come to the physically in the West? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Because I do think the marketing, over here, it would not be received nearly as well. And like you said, I do remember hearing that the engine was running on the Switch. So maybe that they do have plans for that, and maybe we'll see an announcement for that at E3.
Yeah. My only thing is, I'm wondering if their thought process is, even if the engine run, well on the Switch, that doesn't mean it's going to look as the same as the PS4 version or even close. It might be 720p, 30 FPS, lacking in lighting and visual effects, different things like that. And I mean, Resident Evil 7 being a horror game, and just the way that it's built, it's very, like, the atmosphere is very based on the graphics. So if you have, worse graphics, you're just going to lose atmosphere. And at that point, the game is in itself is lessened because, I mean, you really need a good atmosphere for a horror game to be good. So it's not all about, the gameplay is kind of takes a back seat a little bit in that. So I'm wondering if that's their thought process. They don't want to kind of diminish a little bit of what the game is, take away from that. They just thought streaming it would be easier.
That's interesting. I think I could see them doing it as like an option in the West, because overall, I think streaming games in general is becoming more popular. Like Ubisoft, I'm pretty sure like last year they got a lot of hate for that. They wanted to announce their own like cloud service, but I do think that if they were to do anything for the West, because I just think streaming games is just that popular in Japan by now. Like I know Sega does that a lot. I mean, it would be interesting. For me, like graphics aren't really like what defined the horror game, but then again, I haven't really played Resident Evil 7. I guess if I did that in like PSVR, that would be really, really. I think I'd probably laugh before I actually like got scared.
Yeah, I mean, sitting like that nervous laughter.
Yeah, probably.
I think it'd be interesting if they had, like you suggested, maybe that they'll have multiple ways to play Resident Evil 7 on the Switch in the future in America, right? So maybe that means that they'll have a $20 version where you can rent it, right? And it's only cloud service, or you can pay. I guess they would force you to pay $60 to get the retail version, right? But you will be able to own it forever, and you'll be able to play it wherever you want, but the graphics will also probably be a little bit worse because they have to optimize it for the Switch engine as opposed to just streaming it from, I guess, some sort of powerful PC server thing.
Right.
So
actually, I wouldn't be upset if they did that for like a lot of third-party games. You know, they gave you the options to, you know, own it yourself. You know, play it offline, play it on the go. But for people like me, I don't play games on the go. I just play them at home. So I wouldn't really care for that. So maybe they'll give you the option to stream them with better, you know, graphics and things like that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, a lot of people play their Switches at home. I know Nintendo does like a lot of polls, and it's still like it still retains the portability at home. Like some people have upstairs, downstairs. Some people like to lay in their bed with their Switch, like stuff like that.
Guilty.
Yeah, me too. I like to think that the Switch has all the strengths of a dedicated home console and a portable console, and like almost none of the weaknesses. So
right.
Yeah, so I don't really think that it being a streamable service would hurt it personally. No, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's just an option, right, where you can choose between either one, I think it'll be great, and I think it'll make a lot of people happy because, Brandon, like you said, for you, since you don't use your Switch portably that much, right, or at least outside of the house, right, because portable in the house, it doesn't, because if you have Wi-Fi, you're fine.
Connection.
Yeah, you could get a pretty good-looking version of the game for a cheaper price, and you don't mind not owning it, just having it for a few months. And
because I mean, third-party games, I don't play them like for a long time. I just kind of try them out, play them for a month or two, and then, you know, I'm good.
Right.
So I think this would be very good for me personally. But I can see there being issues, you know, depending on how good the connections are, if the input lags too much, different things like that. As long as they do it right and they give the options, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it sort of like speaks to like, because like I did bring it up as a point earlier, like streamable services, like games as a service, is like it's like becoming more popular almost. So like it could like speak to how like, but the graphics are too much for the Switch. It's like, oh yeah, but like games are all streamable now. So what are you talking about? So I don't know. Like, something like that could be the future. And the Switch, like, version for the Switch could be considered the best version. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, right? I still really like the idea of options, and I think going forward, options could be the best bet. You know, giving people options of different ways to play their games could end up attracting more people to buying their games, right? So, you know, I like that idea.
That is what the Switch is about. I like to think like there's multiple controller options. Stuff
Absolutely,
like that.
Yeah. That's true. It bends to the will of the user, which is kind of cool.
That's the perfect way to describe that. Actually, that's pretty good. I like that.
Thanks.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, let me see what you guys in the chat think about, you know, Resident Evil 7 and cloud streaming. So, okay, Danger Mouse is a man of many names. Yeah, Vegeta, you already pre-ordered Resident Evil 7? Is that what I'm reading correctly? Yeah, I think you can pre-order it if you have a Japanese account. So, yeah. Let's move on to these Star Fox rumors, right? So now, I mean, you know, I just kind of want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about Star Fox. I'm actually really excited about this potential project. But, you know, Liam Robertson is someone who's an industry insider. He's revealed many things in the past. For example, he was teasing Mario Rabbids for quite a while last year, and sure enough, Mario Rabbids, like, he literally had his avatar, like, a picture of Mario from Mario Rabbids, right? And no one knew what it was. They thought it was just like a photoshopped Mario, but it was literally the same promotional art, just with a sunglasses PNG on top of it. And he had that for months, and it was proof that he's had promotional material for Mario Rabbids for a long time. So he's proven to have information in the past, on several occasions. So, you know, I'm just reading this article from my Nintendo News where they sort of bulleted some things he said. So, you know, forgive me if they got something wrong here, but I think it's probably pretty close to the truth, according to him, right? The game is not like F-Zero. He's seen more complete version of the logo. The game is based on the R-Wing, which differentiates it from F-Zero. Okay. He was told the title Star Fox Grand Prix was a tentative title, so that when you see the game, if it's like Star Fox Beluga or something, it's different. It's because it, you know, wasn't a final name. The game is a mixture between classic Star Fox and racing, which is interesting to me. You shoot enemies to propel forward and get combos. You can shoot other players too. Each Grand Prix is 3 tracks with a boss fight where the boss can come onto the track. There's a big hub area where you can interact with other Star Fox characters, which is really exciting to me. I'll get to that in a moment. You can pick up new missions at the hub, and there's story content to go through the game. The game looks really, really good in motion. He's also heard that Retro was considering adding cameos like Donkey Kong, which we totally talked about last week, by the way. And he also heard that it was a 2019 game, but it wouldn't surprise him if it ended up being a 2018 game. So that's a lot of information, but, you know, do any of you kind of just want to jump in and give me your thoughts on what we're hearing from this?
Okay, so this is literally the first I've heard of any of this. Like, I loved Star Fox 64. I even liked Star Fox Adventure on the GameCube. Not even gonna lie, I like that game a lot.
I did too.
But Star Fox 64, I could still get the same amount of enjoyment from that game as I did when it first came out. You know, I can always play that game. What you've just described to me sounds very interesting. Is it like a racing game?
That's the thing, right? It's Star Fox Racing, right? And it's being made by Retro Studios, the guys who made Metroid Prime.
I'm still down. That still sounds very interesting. Because it sounds like it's gonna be sort of like a Mario Kart situation where there's enemies and my mind's racing right now.
Yeah, well, actually, I was gonna say that when the rumor came out, like earlier in the week, which was literally a week from today, like the news broke like today, a week ago, that it was supposedly like a mix of Star Fox, Diddy Kong Racing, and F-Zero. You know, and this is sort of saying that it's not really like F-Zero, but it is a futuristic racer with a lot of shooting elements and boss fights, and you can explore the hub world and stuff. But Will, you were gonna add something before I cut you off?
Oh no, I was gonna, basically say what you said. It's more so Diddy Kong than Mario Kart, but yeah. Yeah,
well, but it's still kind of like because Diddy Kong you explore, there's a hub world, there's an adventure. I think there's even boss fights in Diddy Kong Racing, which is interesting.
Like what he said.
Never played that.
The whole rumor, he's like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Interacting with other characters in the hub world, that's like a staple of Diddy Kong Racing.
So what's really cool to me, right, is that I love the idea of, like, for example, maybe like Fox and Falco are just like, you can like go into the dock, right, and maybe like Falco is like polishing like his R-Wing. You just sit him up top there and you could literally walk up to him and talk to him as he's polishing his R-Wing. Like, that is such a cool thing to me, because in the Star Fox games it's always teased the dock. Like, you always see those animations of them running through and like jumping in, which is so exciting, but you never get to explore it. You only see it in cutscenes. And in this game we may actually get to explore the dock inside the ship like that. That I'm like 100% for, you know? I would love it. Maybe we'll finally see... I was going to say that maybe we'll finally get like confirmation that Fox, Falco, Slippy, that all their legs have been cut off and they just have robot legs. Yeah.
They totally do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone debunked that, though. Like an official Nintendo guy that worked on the game was like, no, it's just boots. But
nice. He's lying.
Or is it?
Yeah, he's lying.
You're not going to convince me otherwise. They have robot legs.
Yeah. So for those in the chat who don't know, there's a theory that it may not even... It came from something. I want to double check. But basically, there's this running idea that all of the Star Fox characters in their R-Wings chopped off their legs, so their blood circuitry was like closer, so they can be able to experience greater G-forces and not pass out, and going high speeds, turning and stuff like that with their R-Wings. So,
and
that's hardcore, man.
Yeah.
And because I know nothing about science, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
So I'll buy it.
I'm pretty sure there's a game theory video about it where they sort of just try to figure out if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I think it's where I heard it from. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like the sound of this, and I think, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, but Star Fox isn't a racing game, but it's one of those things, like I said this multiple times before, because this is one of those rumors that is probably true, because so many credible sources are picking up on it. that whenever we hear about these rumors that aren't like fan dreams or like something that seems kind of weird, like Mario Rabbids, when we first hear about it, it kind of just doesn't. It's like, oh, well, that makes no sense. A lot of people are put off by it, but once we see it in execution, it actually is really good. My two prime examples are Mario Rabbids and the Nintendo Switch itself. Both of the things were leaked beforehand. When it was explained to everyone, it seemed just kind of weird, but once we saw it like actually in motion and we saw how all the pieces came together, we're like, oh wow, this is actually a really, really good package. And I think something like that might happen with you know, this Star Fox Racing game as well.
Right.
Yeah. But to sort of touch on what you kind of touched on earlier, I in Diddy Kong, usually they're in the hub where they're usually stuck in their little carts. So that would be interesting to see how they got around that and like just have like the character running around in the place. That would be interesting.
They could pull that off. They could pull that off.
But yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with being a little apprehensive about it. Like not every new idea is the best thing ever. So yeah.
Also true.
Right.
I mean, we are the consumers, right? We make the decisions. If we see something we don't like, we make that decision, right? And when Nintendo doesn't get the sales, we're like, oh, okay, then maybe we shouldn't make this game. Which is really upsetting to me because F-Zero is one of my favorite racing games ever, and it's super, super good, and it didn't sell well. That's why Nintendo hasn't made an F-Zero in almost 15 years.
Oh, that game was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It just had a small cult following. I guess sometimes great games can be made and they still don't sell well, right? Like, which is why sometimes I don't think Nintendo should give up on their franchise. I think they'll go back to it, right? It's just kind of when they decide it's the right time for it.
They gotta give it time to cool down.
Yeah. So Brandon, I know we were talking about it earlier, but like, what do you think of this game? How do you think it'll compare to, say, I don't know, like a previous Star Fox game or even like a kart racer? How do you think it'll sort of compare to those games?
I mean, it's really hard to say, but I'm very confused by it seems like you shoot enemies to actually move, which is weird. I'm wondering if maybe the way they worded it is strange and you can shoot enemies to like get boost points or something. Because it says, you shoot enemies to propel yourself forward. But if you can't move without shooting enemies, I think that would be really weird. And I don't know if that would feel good. So I'm wondering if maybe there's enemies there, and if you shoot them, you can get you charge up your boost meter or something, and then you go faster or something like that. Maybe they kind of worded it weirdly.
Guarantee that's how that works. You're right. That'd be absolutely insane for you to not be able to move unless you shot an enemy. I mean, if they find a way to make that work, that's I guess good for them. But I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just they did work that weird. Yeah, because the way, like when he said it, it sort of sounded to me like, you press the gas, but you won't go. If someone is shooting like tons of enemies and you're shooting none, they're just going to be faster than you. That's the way it sounded like to me.
Yeah, I have to imagine that there's, that you could still finish a track without having to shoot anyone. But I could see how it could complement it and really encourage people to be like shooting each other while racing. So it could be, I mean, I could see it becoming like a battle racer, right? Like, and maybe like the most like involved battle racer, because there are other racing games that you sort of attack each other while you're doing it, but it's kind of sporadic. Right, it's not really necessary a lot of the time. Like, even F-Zero has, like, some actual combat mechanics, but you can go through an entire race without hitting anyone even once. Right, it kind of comes more down to your racing style. But this game, I mean, from what it sounds like it is kind of needed to be good, but, I see it as not really being an actual racing game. I see it as being a hybrid, right? Like, what Star Fox is now in terms of the flight mechanics, with racing mixed in. So I think it's going to be different. Like, that's what I think. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, racer. It's not going to be, oh, just Star Fox. It's going to be kind of like a new hybrid genre, right? Kind of like with Metroid Prime, where it is a first-person shooter, but it's also an adventure game, right? It's
much less action-based. It's, you have downtime. You have time to think about what you're doing and really take in the atmosphere of your surroundings. It's definitely not your average first-person shooter. And that's what I like about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and me too. That's what I love about it. And I think You know, it's obviously a completely different concept, but Retro Studios, you know, they're gonna make something unique. And that's what I'm really excited to see. And apparently the graphics are really good. So, you know, that's always a plus.
I mean, it just makes sense. It's Retro Studios. When have they not made a game that just absolutely looks stunning on any hardware they've made? I don't think they've really made a game that's been bad. I think most of their games have been like critical acclaim. So
yeah,
I don't have any worries that this game won't be at least decent. Whether it will be, you know, the next huge, gigantic, amazing thing for Star Fox, I don't know. But I mean, racing games in general are known to be some of the best looking games out there. They're so much easier to run with just how much limited space you have to render at one time. You
like
can just make those games look absolutely incredible. Yeah, like fighting games. And I mean, on top of that, Retro Studios is, as I was saying, they're just masterclass developers. They know how to squeeze every little bit of juice out of any hardware they use. So I don't doubt this might be one of the best looking games on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, but one point I want to make, though, is that I do feel like this Star Fox game, I mean, just my impression, right? I obviously I don't know, but I feel like this, like, whatever sort of racing mechanics there are, I feel like it could be more open, at least in certain sections. Like, we already know there's going to be a hub world. So some parts of it are going to be open, right? It's not going to be that limiting, at least in some parts.
Right. I love the idea of having an explorable hub world. I mean, that's something I've kind of been wanting in Mario Kart for a while. I'm like, maybe Mario Kart 9 will have an explorable hub world where we can race around to the different tracks instead of just selecting in a menu. And actually have some kind of single-player campaign or something. Maybe this will fill that itch for me or something. I scratch that itch for me. I'm not really sure. But the idea that it seems there's an actual story and you run around and you actually like go and you accept missions and side quests and stuff, it seems like. So it seems like there's an actual like story campaign to it that might be the deepest story we've seen in Star Fox in a while, considering everyone just copies. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everyone just copies 64s in the original story. So
yeah, and that alone also excites me too, because we'll get progression of the Star Fox story, right? Or at least a side story that'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, I mentioned it last week. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard, but like in Star Fox Command with the DS Star Fox game, there's like several endings you can have. And one of the endings, Fox and Falco retire and become G0 racers. Like, you know, it's like a little like nod towards F-Zero, like an alternate universe. Instead of the F-Zero Grand Prix, they joined like the G0 Grand Prix, and they changed their R-Wings into racers. So this could be tying in that ending maybe, or it could just be like another nod, like, oh, you know, they decided to join this league, right? And later on in their careers. So that's gonna be interesting to see.
Right.
Yeah. So let me see what everyone in the chat thinks about this. Is there anything else you guys want to add to these potential Star Fox rumors before we move on?
I think we covered it.
Oh, okay, cool.
The only thing I can think of, just with the way Star Fox works, is I feel like if Retro is going to keep like the soul of Star Fox in there, and this is just a random thought I had, is that in games like Star Fox 64, to get power-ups, much like the ones you would get in like any racer game, you'd have to kill the enemies, and that's already a part of the game. They already expect you to shoot enemies to theoretically get these boosts. But what if that's also how you get power-ups like the laser power-ups or the bombs that you shoot in Star Fox 64? But I guess I could see them more or less not making every enemy drop something. Like there'll be an abundance of enemies, but only some of them drop. So that gives you more incentive to want to kill these enemies, not just for if they have like a point system, I don't know, but that's kind of how I feel like that would work, because I feel like it's not only going to be a race against your opponents, but also like a race for the most kills of enemies, most points gained. I don't know what all they're going to have, but that's just kind of my thought process on that. It'd be very interesting.
I actually really like that idea, and you kind of reminding me, you're making me realize, right, that if you look at Star Fox when it's in on rails mode, it's kind of like already halfway a racing game, because like you are shooting, getting collectibles, and like it's almost there. And maybe what they're considering is that if they introduce more of a racing element on these on rails sections, they're no longer on rails, it's more of like a racing segment. That kind of makes the game feel more modern, more competitive, which could help Star Fox perform better in this modern era, because on rail shooters are kind of like I guess, antiquated. Like they're not the most common genre to play nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a way to make Star Fox feel new again. That might be the case, or they might be just a spin-off and they'll have your standard Star Fox going forward. I guess we'll have to see once we get a reveal of the game, right? And hopefully we'll see it at E3. Hopefully, yeah, exactly, because it may not even be a 2018 game, so we may not see it, and we may start thinking this rumor is not even true, and then we'll see it like 6-8 months from now. It's like, oh, actually, it is real. Here you go. So
may not be a game at all.
What?
Possible.
Yeah, maybe it's a movie.
Maybe it's a comic book. Who knows?
Yeah, actually,
it could just be a project.
I would like it.
It's probably a phone app. Who knows?
Star Fox anime would be good.
Yeah.
They had that like anime thing that they released for Star Fox Zero that was really good.
Yeah, that had a great art style too. But...
I would love to see that kind of return. Maybe not exactly the same, but bring some of those animated shorts would be really cool. Because it was pretty amazing from what we saw back then.
Maybe that's how the cutscenes.
Maybe that's how the game looks.
I want Nintendo to do that. Honestly, I just want them to spin off and do their own animation studio thing.
Oh,
because I know the Pikmin, Miyamoto made the Pikmin things, and Kid Icarus had a few anime shorts. Like they've done a lot of animation stuff. So,
yeah,
it's like a big dream of mine.
Yeah, I mean, we know Nintendo made that. They have that contract with Universal, and we know Nintendo's trying to branch out their IP, right? We know there's a Mario movie in the works already. That's confirmed. It's already happening. It's being made by the Minions studio, right? Miserable Minions. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see we'll see how that pans out. But apparently at least now Nintendo has more of an involvement with it. Like with the first Mario movie, they weren't involved with it at all. This time they're involved with it. Shigeru Miyamoto is following it. And he did a pretty good job with those Pikmin shorts, so maybe this Mario movie is good. And maybe if that works out, we start seeing more of these other Nintendo franchises get their own animes or little TV series or shorts or even movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me again check the chat, see what you guys are saying about Star Fox. Vegeta-san saying no one will use Slippy. Oh, poor Slippy.
Slippy keeps getting kidnapped. No one wants that.
Yeah, it would suck because you would always lose the race too. Because if you get kidnapped, they're just gonna waste so much time.
Right.
Oh, Sabbath is saying that Fox finally realized that this whole time he's actually James McCloud. So if you guys don't know, James McCloud is this character in F-Zero who looks like a humanoid version of Fox McCloud, and he literally drives an R-Wing, but it's for F-Zero. So that'd be funny. I think they're definitely gonna have some references to F-Zero at least. I definitely think that's a possibility. Sal was saying he'd like to see a Pikmin cartoon. Oh yeah. Danger Mouse is saying Gino for Mario Tennis. Actually, that's a great segue because we're moving on to Mario Tennis right now.
Did we touch on Donkey Kong? That's like a whole nother facet, but never mind. Let's move on.
We didn't really talk, but we talked about it last week that there might have some character references. I think that could happen. But yeah, so let's talk about Mario Tennis Aces. So we saw this trailer. Brandon, I know you're really hyped about this, so why don't you just, tell me what you think about this trailer and what they showed off.
Right. So essentially, they just showed more of the single player, and it's like there's an actual story where Luigi gets everyone jokes about it being the Infinity Gauntlet, a tennis racket form, but it's like this. What are they called? Like the Ultra Tennis Racket? I don't remember what it's called. Something Super Tennis Racket or something. So he gets it. It like takes him over, possesses him. There's this whole story mode with an actual story, which was more than I thought. I thought it would just be like, oh, go play on courts because reasons, and there's a map. Good for you. Good for you. So you can actually level up. You get XP. There's levels. You can get new gear and different things to actually help you out. The stages that they showed off were extremely creative. There were some where you were hitting the ball into mirrors that would warp it into different parts of the court. There were some where you had to actually attack enemies with the ball you're hitting. So there was boss fights. There was all kinds of really, really cool stuff that they showed. And it just looks like it's going to have an actual story. It's going to have RPG mechanics. And it's going to be probably the most creative Mario Tennis game we've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just like that they're kind of going into a story mode. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I like the idea that it looks like it's probably going to be completely different, but it does, to a certain degree, give me some vibes of the original Mario Tennis on the Game Boy. Like, that is really exciting to me. It looks like they're going ham with this game. I feel like they had, I guess, a decent framework with the one on Wii U, but it just had no content. And this one, they're just overflowing with content with Mario Tennis Aces. This might be a Mario Sports game I actually get. Like, it looks good.
One of the few. This might be Striker's level of quality.
Yeah, Striker's level of quality. For sure. I mean, have we heard any online details? Like, there's gonna be like an online beta for it, right?
Right. That is
June
very
1st.
soon. Yeah,
June 1st.
I think June 1st through the 3rd. So.
Oh, okay. It's a good time. Cool. Yeah. So, James,
you can play it offline as well. Just to mention that you can play it offline as well during that time. There's a bit of online practice mode or something you can do. So if you don't have interconnection for whatever reason, you can download it. I don't know how you do that, but just letting you know there's an offline mode if you want it.
Good. So you can play portably. Yeah.
Yes.
So James, how do you feel? I guess Mario Tennis or Mario Sports games in general. Is this something that's your cup of tea or not really?
I must say, if I am going to play a sports game, it's got to be over the top and crazy. So the Mario sports games are right up my alley. Much like you, I started Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color, and I played that so much. I wanted to play Strikers, but I never got around to buying it when I had a GameCube. What else? The new one. Actually, like you said, I may be getting that because it does look really good. And on the thought of the story, I love how much we just go along with Nintendo's reasons. Like, hey Mario, here's a great evil. Like, oh well, I'll jump on its head. It's like, no, you got to play tennis against it really to get rid of it this time. But I could just jump on its head. No, it's tennis. It's tennis this time. No jumping, just tennis.
You gotta defeat it with a power
and
smash.
We're like, all right, cool. Yeah.
In a series of 7 bouts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm really excited about it like you. And I think this, as far as Mario sports games go, this is looking to be like a top-notch one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Will, is this a pass for you, or is this I'm definitely on this?
Oh, the new Mario.
Okay.
I know who he was talking to.
Oh, Will.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I know. It looks okay to me. I was just looking at the trailer, like when you were talking earlier. I'm sure it was nothing important though. But yeah, it does look a lot like the Infinity Gauntlet. It but it has like 5 little holes in it, and the Infinity Gauntlet has like 6. I thought that was funny though, and it possessing Luigi. I think that would be cool. Like because usually when Luigi is possessed, or usually when he's evil, he's like 10 times cooler than like Mario will ever be. So I would like to see how that will play out. I'll probably play the open whatever they want to call it this time.
Yeah.
And find out if I want it or not. It looks pretty cool. Like the animations and stuff, I can tell have improved a lot.
Yeah.
It just looks noticeably better. Usually, like people on Twitter will have to like put them side by side for me to see. Like, oh, okay. But no, it looks really good. I'll probably have to wait through E3 as well. Right now, I'm undecided. But...
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna wait until I see more content about it, right? Like there it isn't executed well, but I'm gonna try it out, on like in the beginning of June, see how it plays. But yeah, let's. Is there anything else you want to say to Aces? But we move on to these Smash rumors.
No.
Yeah. Let me see. Sarah's saying Giga Bowser will be in Mario Tennis Aces. Yo, Giga Bowser
Dope.
would definitely be dope for sure. I think I heard someone say maybe Funky Kong. Yeah, Danger Mouse is like more Funky Kong for Mario Tennis.
Funky Kong would be epic.
Funky Kong would be broken.
If he's just riding on a surfboard, he like summons water underneath him.
I was thinking he would use the surfboard to play tennis.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like in Super Mario Super Sluggers, I think that's what it's called. He uses it as a baseball bat, and like when you throw it and he's charging up to hit it, like he sort of twirls the surfboard and he just smacks it. I think he'd be really cool. But yeah, I think he'd be overpowered as well, since like he can just summon water from like nowhere and like surf really fast across the map. So yeah, he'd probably be broken.
Funky Kong is kind of like that god from Moana or something. Like he's a god. He's a monkey god. He can control the seas and do whatever he wants. And he's cool.
That's not what he can do.
Let's pretend he can do that.
I'm pretending he can do that. I know he can't actually do that.
The Rock can summon water. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're talking about him not being able to summon water. Yeah, I know. But he's a beach dude who's super powerful and mighty.
Oh, he's not a beach dude. But yeah, okay, let's continue.
He's not a beach dude? I guess does he live out on the sea underwater?
I mean, he is a demigod. But like their whole culture is like of the sea, so I guess like, but the way you said like beach dude, like some surfer bro or something. I guess that's what, I don't know.
I made a lot of logical leaps, but all right, we'll move forward. Okay, he's not that similar. I'll just accept it. I'll take the L.
I kind of got lost there. I wasn't sure if we were talking about Funky Kong or the guy from Moana for a second. I'm like, who are we talking? Which one are we talking about?
I think that may have been where some of the confusion came from. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, but let's move forward. Josh Sheriff is saying Smash Bros. For Switch rumors hype. Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty hyped about it. Some of these rumors are pretty cool. So, basically, from what I heard from the rumors, is that Ridley is going to be in the game. Ridley from Metroid Prime. He's going to be a character, apparently, and they're going to reveal him at E3. Ice Climbers will be returning, and there's another character. Completely forgot his name. I think it was
Simon Belmont.
Simon Belmont, yeah, from Castlevania.
I didn't even play those games, I remember.
Hey.
Shame on you.
I love Simon. It just slipped my mind. But yeah, so those are the characters that are rumored for Smash Brothers. What do you guys think about this? I mean, who else here is a big Metroid fan? I'm a huge Metroid fan. James, are you? I think you were talking about Metroid earlier, so I guess you're a big Metroid fan too.
I liked Prime a lot. I mean, I like the side scrollers okay, but I wasn't big into them. Okay. Prime was really my Metroid game that I played.
That's why I was first introduced to the series too, and those are the ones I like the most. But Ridley is in those. Oh, he's Meta Ridley in those. Do you think that Ridley's like it's about time that we see him in Smash Brothers, or do you think these rumors are untrue and it's just kind of like, nah?
No, I think Ridley is a fan favorite, and we've spoken enough. The fans have spoken enough that Nintendo's heard, and I whether or not they're true or not, I want them to be true. I feel like they could definitely make Ridley work if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Smash mods that have Ridley, and they work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
bro, he's too big. He's too big. That's what Sakurai would tell you. He's just too big.
Yeah.
Can't have him in the game. He's too big.
I'm not saying you play exactly like...
That's not possible.
They could just have a younger Ridley when he was smaller.
Baby Ridley.
Yeah. Right, that's true. They could do something like that. Yeah. That would be interesting.
I tell you what, at the beginning of the match, he hatches out of his Ridley egg like Yoshi does. There, so it's Baby Ridley.
Except
Boom,
it's super
done.
Disgusting. Like, it's
exactly
gunk.
That's fine.
Yeah.
For his final smash, he just turns into his regular self. Yeah,
there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. And then he shrinks back down. Oh, yeah. See, you got this.
For some reason.
You know how it works.
Yeah, maybe even, like, for his final smash, like, metal parts, like, fly in from, like you see, like, in Metroid Prime, how they have, like, those little airboats that space pirates ride on sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, an airboat will pass by, and the space pirates will dump all these mechanical parts, and they'll jettison onto Ridley, and he'll turn into, like, this super-sized Meta Ridley, right, for his final smash, and... pulverize.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. They're really cool. But what do we think about maybe Ice Climbers finally coming back? I think this is kind of a given, personally, because the only reason he wasn't in the last one was because the 3DS couldn't run it because of all the characters on screen at once. So I think he's a given. He and she. are a given.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the rumor itself is like questionable at best, but I know that it's coming from the guy that said something about, what was it, Star Fox? So yeah, I mean,
it really feels like a fan's wish list almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have too much of an opinion on Ice Climbers. They were never my characters, mainly because I really sucked with them. So I didn't bother with them for too long because I couldn't get their moveset down. I just didn't understand. So I moved on from them pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of. It'd be good to have them back. Just they've been there. They should be there. Maybe we'll actually get a real Ice Climbers game someday. That'd be awesome. Probably not. Maybe an indie game, or not an indie game, but like a small eShop game.
Right.
What you said, that was fun.
What about Simon Belmont? I guess it makes sense for a Castlevania character to be in Smash Bros. Because Castlevania is a classic IP with some great characters, and Konami. There's no Snake right now, so I mean, it'd be good to have some representation in there.
Give me Snake. Give me back Snake.
I want Snake back.
My Snake needs to be back. I just find it weird that they would announce Simon Belmont of all people at E3. It's just a weird choice in my opinion. I feel like not Banjo-Kazooie, not Rex and Pyra. No, Simon Belmont. That's the one they're gonna flagship at E3. What? That's
well, if I remember correctly, the rumor wasn't saying that Simon Belmont was announced for E3, that Ridley would be announced at E3. Which makes sense, because we do believe Metroid Prime 4, well, most people believe Metroid Prime 4 will be at E3, and they could tie in a Ridley announcement with Metroid Prime 4 being at E3. Yeah, so that makes sense.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Simon Belmont, I do agree that they were showing that off at E3, that maybe not the most hype announcement. A Banjo-Kazooie announcement, that would be hype. Is it realistic? I don't know. But it definitely...
I think it's pretty realistic.
Yeah, I think
it's possible.
Microsoft and Nintendo are very buddy these days.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he literally reiterated it too. Someone asked him again, and he was like, "Yes, I'm still okay with Banjo-Kazooie coming to Smash."
So he's okay with it, but let me get into maybe the potential implications, right? So Microsoft will probably want some money, right, for Banjo-Kazooie to be in the game. And Nintendo may not be like, what about the advertising? Isn't that good enough for you? And Microsoft will be like, oh no, we should have some money. And that's probably, if it doesn't happen, that may be why it hasn't happened yet, right? Because maybe Microsoft wants a cut, and Nintendo's like, nope. So
I don't know. I mean, Microsoft. Minecraft, man.
I think it's.
I'd be upset if we got a Minecraft character.
Literally, every company's dream to have a character of theirs in Smash. I don't know.
Right.
I doubt Nintendo. No, I think Microsoft knows better about Nintendo by now. That anyone would why would you show that Mario game sold well Nintendo, so give us the money. I don't know. That just sounds weird. I don't know. I think it'll happen. I think it's really realistic. It's definitely way more realistic than Goku or Shrek.
Or what if Master Chief was in the next Smash?
I'd give him a shot. I wouldn't just toss him aside just because he's Master Chief. I think I would actually give him a shot and see what I could do with him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think his plasma grenade would be cool. Just throwing on a plasma grenade to someone's face and seeing it blow up after a few seconds. That'd be cool. And he has a lot of weapons, so. And the energy sword would have to be a huge part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd probably
I think the plasma grenade would work just like the sticky grenades or sticky bombs would in regular Smash. You'd throw it at someone and stick to them, and then you have a timer, and as long as you can hit someone else, it would go to them, and then you just keep playing hot potato until someone dies.
And maybe
I would love that.
Yeah. And maybe his up B could be like a Banshee, right? The purple flying ships. He grabs onto that for a little while, and then it blows up after a bit. That'd be
so cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What if you can use a ghost and go across the stage?
Ooh. So his side B is a ghost, his up B is a Banshee, his down B is a plasma grenade. I like where this is going. I can't believe we're talking about Master Chief and Smash Brothers because it's not going to happen, but it is definitely cool.
No.
But if anyone's like a Smash mod, like if you mod for like Smash Wii U or Brawl, maybe you can use these ideas for your mod.
Right.
So
but what if it did happen? Because a lot of people think, you know, Halo 6 is going to be announced. What if Microsoft comes on stage after Halo 6 and like, guess what? Master Chief's in Smash. You see, Sakurai comes on stage and just like, guys, Master Chief in Smash.
The only way I think that would ever happen is if Microsoft bows out of the console market and they just ship out their IPs to different companies, and Halo would come to Nintendo, which I would love, but I know a lot of people would really be sad if Xbox would die. So,
doubt Xbox would die anytime soon.
Yeah, but although I'm not going to get into Xbox speculation, but okay, I'll just say this one thing. I like the idea, even though I don't think it'll ever happen, that someday Microsoft will be like, okay, we're just going to move on to more of a, you know, just like a service, right? And they will have Xbox Live available on Nintendo systems. Like, they come up with a partnership, and Nintendo has crappy online, but then Xbox doesn't, so Nintendo systems run Xbox Live, and they get some Nintendo exclusives. Like, that would be really, really cool, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
It'd be a great way to solve the online issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, this is just, I don't even want to call this speculation. It's just fantasy. It's just fantasy. So, you know. But yeah, is there anything else we want to say as to Smash Bros. Before I see what everyone in the chat is kind of talking about?
Speaking of which,
go ahead.
Oh, no, never mind. I was just going to bring up something completely different.
Oh. I was just saying on the Simon Belmont thing, I had never thought, I saw that someone retweeted that today. I thought it was just someone speculating. I didn't realize it was like, you know, a rumor or whatnot. But I had never thought about Simon Belmont until that point in Smash, and I kind of dig it. Like, I kind of dig how that would work, and I think I might use him if that actually came to fruition there. I can totally see his skill set working in Smash.
Absolutely, and I mean, if anything, they could, if they're lacking in movesets, they could always tie in like another character's like move, right? Because like different Castlevania games have so many different powers and moveset and different weapons. Like, if they needed to fill in a gap, they could with another weapon set. I would love to see the whip used. Like, that would be really cool. Like you know, like the metal whip. That would be awesome to see.
Oh yeah. I was actually talking to someone a few weeks ago. Someone brought up on Twitter how I think they either asked or they speculated if Breath of the Wild Link would make an appearance instead of like Twilight Princess Link, how it has been, and how that would work. And I kind of thought it would be kind of interesting if his weapon isn't the Master Sword. Like, every time he swings his weapon, it's just a different like sword from the game. Like, if he brings out his sword, it'll be like a Castle Soldier's Great Sword or a Bokoblin's Club, and he could use that until eventually it breaks like it does in the game.
And then when it breaks, it's a critical hit.
Right, yeah, and then when he uses that move again, he brings out a totally different weapon, which has, so you got to kind of adapt, you kind of got to learn what weapons he has. It'd only be like 3 or 4, I would assume, but you kind of have to think about what's coming up next. How can I use it? How do I need to change my play style for this club as opposed to this one-handed sword and shield, you know? So I really started digging that idea as I was coming up with it.
Yeah. That's an idea I haven't heard before, and I think it makes a lot of sense to a degree, because that would show some representation for Link. Like, the obvious ones are like, oh, up B is the paraglider, right? Or like, you know, Rivali's Gale. That is something that I haven't considered, and I think it'd be really cool. It would be a shame to not see the Master Sword. But maybe like it could be a separate move, right? Or maybe you just see the Master Sword.
Or maybe it's a rare pull from your weapon. So like maybe that's like, you know, it does more damage. So if you get it, you're like, okay, now it's over. You guys are dead. I got the Master Sword. You know,
that's also a possibility. Yeah,
I can see it being part of his like final smash. Like I can see his final smash being Urbosa's Fury, and like everyone is stunned for like 5 or 6 seconds, and like he pulls out the Master Sword and it's glowing, and he just wipes everyone out. You can see that.
I would love that. I want Urbosa's Fury more than any of the other power-ups from the game. Because hers is
I
the
do
best.
think that Breath of the Wild Link will be a different Link.
Oh, yeah.
they're going to change at least some moves. At least.
Oh,
so, yeah. So Danger Mouse is suggesting ukulele for Smash, and maybe instead of Banjo-Kazooie, which would really upset me, but is semi-possible. That could happen. They would be like, hey, we didn't get Banjo-Kazooie, but here's the next best thing, ukulele. So
the next best thing.
I think that is viable, but I don't know. Depends. Like, I don't think Nintendo themselves have paid that much attention to Playtonic. I don't know.
What if we get like Fat Banjo from Bolts?
He's just running all slow.
Yeah. Oh my god. Fat Banjo.
Oh, that game is so bad.
Well, it would be funny if they had a cutscene where they introduced Banjo-Kazooie, right? And you see Fat Banjo, so it's like a huge troll. Like, everyone's like, oh, Banjo-Kazooie! Like, they show the titling in Smash Brothers, and then you see Fat Banjo, and then we're like, oh my god. But then he whips himself up into shape, like, immediately for the fight. Like, that'd be funny. I can see them doing something like that.
I feel like people would just hate, because any reference to nuts and bolts is no.
Yeah, it'd be kind of crazy. So, yeah, are we ready to move on to the Pokemon conversation now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alright, so let's just jump in, alright? So, if you guys haven't heard, Pokemon Let's Go is pretty much a thing, right? So many different sources have come out and said, oh yeah, this is a thing, this is a thing, there's been rumored, blah, 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 this. Even domain names have come out for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee by the same company that did the same thing for Pokemon Sun and Moon. And on top of that, if you look at all the media, all the different social media platforms, for all the official platforms for Pokemon, it's been Pikachu and Eevee all throughout the year. So they've been teasing Pikachu and Eevee to us all throughout the year without us even having knowledge of this rumor. So pretty much everyone believes that this is real. And we do too. So we're going to talk about it. And the belief is that a Nintendo Direct is coming really soon. Emily Rogers, who has gotten a lot of things right, is saying the game's going to be revealed by the end of the month. A lot of people think it's going to happen this week. So, guys, I guess I'm just asking you guys, when do you think we're actually going to see a Nintendo Direct for Pokemon, if we are going to see a Nintendo Direct for Pokemon this year? James, I brought you on because you're good with Pokemon, so what do you think, man?
Emily Rogers is interesting. She's one of those people that I have no reason to not believe. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's just so much information that we do not know about the Pokemon Switch games that you really have to piece together what is plausible or not. And I feel like Emily Rogers is a very good source for this. So, like I'm saying, I have no reason to not believe her. The end of the month, I really hope to have a Nintendo Direct. I think we will. I think by the end of the week. I've seen a lot of people that were saying today. Obviously, that didn't happen. I've seen a couple people saying tomorrow. I mean, I don't know what to say. I think people are just picking and choosing days, hoping they're right. I don't think I could begin to guess. But I feel like it's going to be sometime before the end of the month. Hopefully this week. I mean, that's just that'd be great. And I feel like a lot of people, me included, I feel like anything they give us is going to be good enough, even if they just 100% confirm that these are the titles and this is the main. Because a lot of people aren't even convinced totally that Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are the main series games they're making. They think they're sort of like a spinoff. Yeah. I don't think that. So even if it's just Game Freak coming out saying, hey, the main series titles we're working on, we talked about at E3, that one time, it's going to be Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Here's the official English titles for them. Great. We know we have something. We have some word. Right.
And it might not even be Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, right? Like the English naming might be slightly different. That's a possibility.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it'll probably. I feel like if I had to bet, I would say that those names are pretty close to what we're gonna see. But it is possible the branding's different because the logo we've seen is in Japanese, and the way it rolls in Japanese might not roll the same in English, and they might have a different perspective on it for the English branding. So, but yeah, I also think that a Nintendo Direct has to happen soon. I believe these rumors. I think this is, all but confirmed. just to put out a prediction, tomorrow we're gonna get an announcement. Just
fingers crossed. I really hope so.
Yeah. Will, Brandon, what are your thoughts on the matter? I have a little piece of information I'll pull up in a moment. What do you guys think about when we're gonna see this direct?
I think the direct is gonna be announced tomorrow, and I think it's gonna be this Thursday.
Team Tuesday. Team Tuesday.
See.
It's an interesting question. I don't know. I truly don't know, but if I were to just guess or just throw something out there, I'd probably say like tomorrow or the day after, and then me get it like Friday.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think a lot of us think that it's gonna happen this week, and if Emily Rogers is true, if Emily Rogers is right, it's either this week or next week. Like there isn't really, there isn't much leeway there, right? Either A, she's wrong, or B, it's next week or this week, right? Like those are our options.
Right.
So
A is a lot more probable.
Yeah.
Honestly, I might be alone on that. But yeah.
So yeah, I think it's gonna be this week, honestly, because I mean next week it could be like next Thursday or next Tuesday, but I don't know. It feels like it's gonna be this week. I don't know why.
I think the biggest kick in the shorts would be if tomorrow they announced a Pokemon Direct, but then the date was like the end of next week. Like, oh my god, that would kill me.
Oh my god.
Oh, you want to hear a kick in the shorts? Actually, Vegeta-san just said this: Pokemon Direct, right? Quote, Pokemon Sun and Moon now on Switch, end quote. That would be a major slammer.
Dude, that would...
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think I would mind that too. Well, as long as that's not the main series titles they're talking about, because I didn't play Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Moon. I skipped Generation 7. So, I mean, that would just give me an extra chance to play it. So
yeah.
I just started emulating Pokemon.
I skipped.
Really?
Probably.
Yeah. The only Pokemon game I skipped in over a decade is Ultra Sun and Moon. That's the only one I skipped. I've played like I've played every single Pokemon generation and each like version, but like for example, I didn't play Platinum, right, which is basically just Pearl and Diamond with a few extra things, right? Mm-hmm. So like not counting like those versions that just have a little bit of extra stuff, but it's the same story for the most part. Like I've played every Pokemon game except Ultra Sun and Moon. That just looked like Sun and Moon with remixed, and I got it a year ago. So
yeah, from what I've heard, it's Sun and Moon, but they completely ruined the characters and story.
Some people say
progress.
That. Yeah, progress, exactly. Though they added some cool mini games, right? So there's that. There's a surfing mini game. You could fly through portals and stuff, so it's fun. But trying to just reeling things back on topic, though. I saw this piece of information on Twitter. I just is someone who just collected information about previous Pokemon Direct announcements. So hopefully I understand this, right? So let's so there was the last few Pokemon Directs, right? The last one that was, I guess, announced was last year, June 5th, on a Monday. It was announced, right? And we saw it a day after on a Tuesday, and this is a week before E3. Literally a week before E3. And this is when we got the Ultra Sun and Moon announcement. This is what happened last year. And then the year after that, before that, which was Sun and Moon, apparently it was in April, and the announcement was on a Wednesday, and we saw the Direct on a Friday, and that was a 2-day difference. So, just a, I guess, brief history here. I'm not going to read the rest of this. The point is that, like, I don't know. They could go do it right before E3. They could do that. I think I would go nuts. I would be crazy. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to say. I would just believe everything is fake. But I think it's a possibility. But I'm gonna stick with Tuesday for now.
Well, we'll see tomorrow.
We'll see tomorrow. Yeah, exactly right. We'll find out if I'm wrong tomorrow. But
that's when you can tell everybody you told them so.
Yeah, I told you so. Yeah, exactly. Although I've been hinting and hoping about, maybe this week, guys. Maybe this week, guys. Like I've done this like several times throughout the year. So
yeah.
If you keep on guessing, eventually you're gonna get it right.
And that's the time it counts.
Right, 2 times a day.
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. So let me see. No Filter thinks it's gonna be the Direct is gonna be on the first week. That's a possibility. Sally's saying
No
that
direct at
we
all.
will see it on Friday. He's saying that it'll doubt even be a direct. I guess you're saying it might be like a trailer. Just drop a trailer on Friday. That's also a possibility.
I could believe that.
Yeah.
Or nothing.
Or don't say that. Don't say that. But like, actually, it's an interesting question though, right? So like, what if it isn't direct? What if they just do a trailer? What do you guys think of the viability of that? James, do you see that as a possibility?
I mean, well, anything's really a possibility. That would be a very interesting choice, and I think okay. So this, excuse me, sorry. This is really the first iteration of a Pokemon generation that I've really been in the whole leak situation. So from the point that I'm at, honestly, if they just dropped a trailer, that would be probably the only way to really surprise the fan base with any information. Because, you know, there's people claiming to have this information and that information. Some of it's probably true. We probably know more about the game than we think we do. We just think they're just rumors, you know? So to just forego the announcement of a direct and have us all waiting for that and just drop a trailer, that would be jaw-dropping for me. I would love for that to happen, because I mean, like I said, that would be the only way to really surprise us at this point, is to just throw the information out there with no warning. And I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Right, but if it did, it would be kind of like the Nintendo Labo strategy, because they just dropped the trailer. Yeah,
I could see them, because with Breath of the Wild, we didn't get a traditional trailer until well, I like to think until the Nintendo event. So like, I could see them doing that. Like, I can see them giving a lot of information. Maybe not a lot, but some information on it. And then during E3, they just drop a Breath of the Wild tier like trailer on it. Like Breath of the Wild trailer just moved a lot of people to tears. I remember like looking at a lot of reactions to that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's a possibility. I kind of like the idea of them teasing things with something right before E3, whether it's a trailer or a little small direct, and then at E3 it's kind of more of a blowout. Like, we actually see like gameplay and how the game works and runs. I could see them kind of taking that route this time, because this is the first time a Pokemon game's been on a mainline home console, so they may want to feature it a bit more at E3 this time.
Right. But can you drop a Breath of the Wild like trailer, that tier of trailer? Is it even possible? Because I think that was just like
that was the best trailer of all time.
Trailers.
That was the best trailer of all time.
Pokemon's, it's got nothing on trailer. I mean, not trailer, Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not.
It's a different beast.
The what? I didn't catch the last part, James.
Oh, I said it's a different beast entirely.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to see exactly what they're going to do. But, you know, well, I guess we'll find out really soon, right? So, I guess let's actually talk about the game itself, what we're hearing. But before I do, I just kind of want to see what people are seeing in the chat. Hello to you, Wolflight. Actually, I mean, Snowman is saying he's concerned about this rumor that there's only going to be 150 Pokemon. We could tackle that first. So basically, I'll just read apparently the person on 4chan who originally leaked Let's Go Pikachu, the names, and even some information about the game. He got it right. Like, people are paying attention to this dude, and he said something else. He said that the game's going to be like Go's first release. Only Kanto Pokemon will be available in Let's Go, right? So he's not. The wording there, I think, is interesting, because a lot of news outlets have went ahead and just said, oh, there's only going to be the original 150 Pokemon. But I do think the wording is a little different. But, James, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit on Twitter. What do you think about this rumor?
I like it. I like it a lot, because it sort of lines up with the whole reboot thing. If we're going back to Kanto, it would make sense that there would only be the first 151 Pokemon. They could do a lot more. Like, I do want to see more regional variants. Now, what was I gonna say?
Well, I mean, I would love
feel like-
Cantonian forms too. I think that's a possibility.
Right. Yeah. And so there's like I said, there's a whole lot of information just kind of going out there, and we don't know what exactly is true and what is not. Now there is some information out there that hasn't yet been debunked. Not to say it's true, it just no one can seem to debunk it. And I may be mistaken on some of it, but I still like the idea of, there was a rumor that this is going to be Kanto hundreds of years in the future, which, if that is the case, that is such an interesting way to handle this reboot. If that is the case, Game Freak has left it open to not only give people like me who started with Gen 1 Kanto back, and they can do literally anything they want with it at that point, because hundreds of years changes a place so much. Anything could have happened, especially with this whole rumor of like the ocean rising, because Game Freak there's no canon on like the altitude really of any landmarks besides, you know, something like here's a mountain. Mountains are tall, you know. So it's up to them to decide what parts of Kanto are left above sea level at this point, or submerged forever. So I mean, they can 200 something, you know, hundreds of years in the future is just such an interesting way to handle this reboot, because they can give us whatever they want or take away whatever they want. It's a completely different Kanto. It's still Kanto, but they're still going to have landmarks and things that I would recognize, that you would recognize. But people who are against Kanto are still going to be able to enjoy it, because it's not going to be anything like the Kanto that they've seen however many times they don't want to see Kanto anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, with the 151, that does make sense in a way. I wouldn't have suspected that, because hundreds of years in the future could have migrated over so many Pokemon from different regions, but I feel like 151 or 150 or whatever they're saying could definitely work, and then give us different regional variants. Because technically, I would still count that as a Kanto Pokemon, because I mean, Alolan Raichu is not a Kanto Pokemon, even though Raichu is. He's an Alolan Pokemon. So they have a lot to work with. I mean, and most of what I just said is still, it's all unconfirmed, and it's just what I like, what the rumors that I've liked so far, and that haven't been totally debunked as far as I know. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is hundreds of years in the future, would that open up the door for a new evolution or two for every Pokemon? Because they've spent so much time, they might have had, you know, enough time to have evolved again. And even if it is just the original 151 Pokemon, I don't see, or they didn't say that. They didn't put a number. They just said it was focusing, or it's going to only have Kanto Pokemon. But that doesn't mean there can't be Kanto variants of other Pokemon.
Exactly.
In fact, Pokemon Go is having Kanto forms of Alolan Pokemon coming to the game. So why wouldn't those Pokemon be in the game?
Which is a very interesting point you bring up. It's actually a script I was working on for my next video, putting on my tinfoil hat there for a theory I had. It's just... Because, I mean, you guys have heard about the whole Pokemon Go integration with Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
Yep.
Which is... Were we going to talk about that at all? I didn't know what the plan was. I think
We'll touch on it. Just, you know, bring it up. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I personally feel almost 100% that it's just going to be a Pokewalker 2.0. Like, it's literally just a Tamagotchi for your Pokemon on your phone.
Which I would love.
It's not... Yeah, I'm so excited about that. Like, it's definitely 100% not going to be mandatory for the game. Like, that would be ridiculous, because most people, I know several people who love Pokemon, but they don't have a smartphone still. Their smartphone is too old to run it. And Nintendo knows this. They know that not everybody has that capability. Anyone who buys the game isn't also going to have, you know, enough money to afford a smartphone that can run Pokemon Go. So it's definitely not going to be mandatory, but I would absolutely 100% play Pokemon Go 10 times more if I had my own, you know, Rattata on there as my buddy from my Pokemon Switch game, or whatever. You know, it's just, that is one of the most exciting rumors I've seen, and I think it's very interesting.
I'm with you there, and it's just weird to me though, right? Because I remember when Pokemon Go came out, I was like, they need to allow us to use these Pokemon in Sun and Moon. Like, that needs to be a thing. And they didn't make that a thing. And now, like, basically, like 2 years later, by the time we play the game, it's going to be 2 years later, right? Like, they still, you know, it's just kind of weird. It's going to be more than 2 years, because Pokemon Go came out summer 2016, right? So, and we're going to get it, presumably, holiday 2018, right? That's 2.5 years after Pokemon Go's initial release. Now, they've had updates and stuff, but it's, even though I like the idea of it, and I would play Pokemon Go more because of it, I just think, like, it's kind of like the timing of it is, it's not as big of an effect as it's going to be now as it would have been if this happened 2 years ago. So, you know, I just think it's a little weird. But nevertheless, I still think it's a good business decision. And I think, like you're saying, like, if it functions like a Pokewalker sort of thing, I would love. And it wouldn't affect the main game. And that's something I just think would be an add-on for those who are interested.
Definitely.
I do agree that integration with Pokemon. I actually made a whole video about it, but I do think like it's a really good idea, especially like considering the idea that it's probably a reboot. Like that makes sense, especially because I think your Nintendo or Game Freak rather know that there are a lot of people that are playing Pokemon Go that are probably going to pick this up on Switch. They're like, you know, the 100 or 200 Pokemon that you're familiar with? Nah, there are 700 of those. Like, that's just overwhelming. That's like one of the reasons that I'm not really that, you know, I'm not that drawn to the Pokemon series. It seems overwhelming. So I do agree that, like, the idea of a reboot and then continuing to add Pokemon and introduce them to the new crowd does make a lot of sense. Oh, yeah.
Well, I think it's a good point, because it can be alienating. But there's been a couple times where I feel like they've done something similar before. Like, I remember with Black and White, it wasn't quite the same, but there was only a certain amount of Pokemon that you had access to. In fact, actually, Black and White did something like the opposite thing. Like, you couldn't play with any of the old Pokemon. Like, it was just, they introduced like almost 150 new Pokemon in Black and White, and that was all you could do until you beat the Elite Four and you got into the post game. James, do you remember that the same way I do, or is it slightly different?
It was actually 155. I looked at it today actually for that video I'm working on. Actually,
yeah.
But yeah, Black and White were actually a soft reboot of the franchise, which is why you couldn't get any of the old Pokemon. None of the past Pokemon were in Black and White or Black and White 2. It was an isolated region altogether, which is an interesting way, because so I've skipped 2 generations of Pokemon, 5, which is Unova, Black and White, and Generation 7 for Alola. So I've had to do some research on that, but yeah, that's exactly what that was. It was a soft reboot, and from what I've heard, Black and White have some of actually the best stories in all of the series, which makes me angry that I didn't play them, because I would love to experience that. I may go back and play it actually now. Yeah, I may do that.
It's good to know that they're not entirely brand new to the idea of just dismissing a certain number of, especially it's cool to know that they aren't like new to the idea of a reboot either. Like, that just makes it more viable. Like, no, like there's less amount of people that can come out and be like, that's blasphemous, they would never do a reboot. And it's like, what? They kind of did do one.
Yeah, they did.
I don't really think it's alienating that there are a lot. It's just not really like that's a lot to consider. Especially like, oh yeah, I like this Pokemon's move, and it's that Pokemon's move, and then you got like 699 more. I don't know. It's just one of those things. But it's a small thing.
That's exactly. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what Game Freak's reasoning behind the soft reboot in Black and White was. Like you said, at that point, it was at like 400, 500 Pokemon.
Yeah.
So people that don't play every generation, they're like, oh, look, this black and white, this box legendary looks cool. Let me jump in this, or whatever. Generation 4, they play that. Like, I like the box legendary. Let's play this game. How many are there now? 400 something. I'm okay. I'll skip this. No, I'm good. So to hear that, I mean, black and white and black and white 2 only have 155 that you can get in the actual main game. And post game may be different, like you said, but that's a little less to chew. It's much more approachable.
Yeah. And as a fan, right, who wants as many Pokemon as possible, right, like, it depends how they do it, obviously, but if they treat it the way they treated Black and White 1, I am 100% okay with that. Now, the only caveat is that Generation 5, Black and White, they were all new Pokemon, right? So when I played it, as a longtime Pokemon fan, even though there was a smaller number that they focused on for the main game, right, it was all new to me. Now, for this Kanto reboot remake, which we're still not entirely sure about, some people think it's just a straight-up remake, some people think it's a reboot or a sequel. Point being, we don't know if it's just going to be the same 151 or 150, if you count Mew, Pokemon in the game. And if it's the exact same Pokemon, no new forms, no new evolutions, that might annoy me a little bit, right? Now, obviously, there are a whole bunch of other factors that will affect my enjoyment of the game, and I'll probably still love it. But that part of it, if it's in that exact way, would bother me a little because it's all old stuff. There's nothing new to it. But again, they could refresh the games in a lot of other ways. And then also, right, this little leak here doesn't say the original 151. It just says Kanto Pokemon, which could include, like Brandon was saying earlier, and you as well, James, that it could be Cantonian forms, the equivalent to Alolan forms. So some Pokemon from other regions get those different forms because they're in that region. So they could still maybe end up having maybe about 200 Pokemon, right, or something like that if you count forms for the national dex, the first Pokemon you deal with before you beat the main game. So, I guess just kind of my 2 cents on it. Like, depending on how they do it, it may or may not excite me. But
I get it. It almost is like they're turning their back on the more hardcore fans. But I do think that they'd find a way to, because it is a reboot. Like, I do think that they'd find a way to make it new. Like, that would be weird if it was just a complete copy of like Pokemon Yellow or something. I'd imagine
I've had a lot of conversations on YouTube about the possibility of Game Freak alienating their fan base, and I don't agree with it. Now, to be fair, this is almost 100% coming from the competitive players, which I'm not. I'm a very casual Pokemon player. I'm trash at competitive battling. So, and this is mainly back when I was making the case for the change in the battle system. A lot of people were saying that they didn't want the change because that would ruin the competitive scene. And I don't think that's entirely true either. I feel like Game Freak, the competitive scene is very much a big part of the Pokemon community, and Game Freak knows that. They're not going to make changes that are going to be drastic enough to wipe out that part of their fan base. They're not going to do that. I want it to change, and I think it will change. I think we're going to see a significant change in the battle system, but there is going to be an angle to keep the competitive scene intact. But what a lot of people don't understand is that we, as older players, are not Pokemon's target demographic. We were children. That is the demographic that's going to keep Pokemon going. Like, the fact that we've stuck around for 20-something years is I'm sure is amazing to Game Freak, but we're not always going to be around. A lot of us have dropped off, or a lot of us are going to die, and so and children aren't like us. They've grown up with the Call of Duties and the Assassin's Creed, the instant gratification games. So they're not going to sit through a story-based RPG like we did. They're just not going to do it. We are not that demographic that they have to keep. we can't keep them afloat forever. So, I mean, that was sort of my point, why the battle system needs to change. Why, I mean, story's fine. I feel like if they made it a little easier to chew, yeah, the kids will sit through it, but the turn-based battle system, I don't feel like is going to cut it for too much longer, or they're going to lose future generations that are going to keep them afloat for the next 40 years if Pokemon is going to stick around that long, you know?
Yeah, actually, I hear your point, and I actually saw your video where you made the comparison that the battle system could be kind of more like Ni no Kuni rather than comparing it to Digimon, which, you know, is a scary comparison, but more like Ni no Kuni, which makes a lot of sense. And I think there is the ability, like it is possible for, even though I also agree with you that they do have to focus on building up the younger generation, because that is going to become their backbone. We've been their backbone, and I'm sure a lot of us will stick around, but a lot of people will move on. So they do have to focus on bringing in the younger players as well, which I agree with. So coming up with a new mechanic or changing on the battle system a little bit to make that more mainstream would potentially be a good idea. I can see how Game Freak could move in that direction, but at the same time, like you said, there is this huge competitive community, which is a big part of Pokemon, right? It's been with them for years. They're not going to just completely abandon it either. And I think it's possible to manage to kind of make both people happy. Like, you can make both audiences happy, right? The same way how we were talking about how if they only focus on the original Pokemon or Kanto Pokemon, I think there's a way that they could just construct the game where you can appease both sides, and for both fronts, for the battle system and the kind of Pokemon they're in the game, right? I think there's a way to do both. And if it is kind of a little bit like Ni no Kuni, I think that's a possibility. But to play devil's advocate, though, right? I was speaking with my friend who loves Pokemon, but he focuses on, he's not a big gamer, right? He plays Pokemon, but other games that require like reflexes and reaction time, those aren't things that he's in love with, right? They kind of make him a little anxious. So like, if Pokemon were to move more into this like reflexive kind of quick reaction sort of direction, they would run the risk of alienating players like my friend. So I hope that if they do this, they find a way to, you know, complement both sides, where both sides can still be happy, right? So it'll be kind of like a stopgap in the middle, and still bring in that newer audience, but also satisfy the older audience.
Oh, definitely, because like, if you think about, like, a lot of people will make the argument that Game Freak has been, they're not going to change the battle system because they've been polishing this battle system for the past 20 years, and that's actually almost exactly my point. They're not going to stop polishing it. You know what I'm saying? That I agree with you that if they changed it so drastically, they're going to alienate a lot of people like your friend who can't do the faster paced action stuff. But at the same time, they have to start making some sort of polishing shift towards a faster pace to keep that younger audience, or risk having a gap in between them trying to make this change where no one but us, the older fans, will play the game. They're not going to have any of the younger audience, and that's profit. That's profit they're losing. And at the end of the day, Game Freak they make money, so they have to think about their.
Hello?
Yeah.
No, I think James froze. I think James froze. I'm not sure. But I guess, you know, to piggyback off his idea, hopefully he gets functioning
well,
again.
I want to add to that.
Go ahead.
I do agree with him.
I don't.
He like came in for a moment again, and then.
Oh.
James, I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't hear you right now. Let me see where my phone.
He dropped.
Oh yeah, I'll just message him if he just clicks on the link again, he can get back in.
Okay.
Go on.
I do kind of agree with him. Like, I almost lost the train of thought, but yeah, I do agree. Like, the turn-based battle system is like, it's widely considered like up there, like with the 3D platformer. It's usually considered a relic of the past. Like, it's not really that good, but I do think that in a lot of cases, even though I don't really know, I do think Pokemon is like an exception to an extent. And I do remember talking about just Nintendo in general. I don't know if it'll fall suit with Game Freak, but just Nintendo in general. Like when we talk about Odyssey and Breath of the Wild.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah, it's cool. And they simultaneously appease both like the hardcore and the newcomer. Like, but I do think I do agree with Slow in that I do think Game Freak is prioritizing the newer market, the younger market, the almost like the casual market. You know, as far as like the branding alone goes, if I were to assume one thing.
Well, I want just to add to your point, actually, that Pokemon Company has kind of always made their games mainstream. Like, the barrier for entry has always been relatively low. So, the way it's constructed, right, like, it's easy for a lot of kids to get into it and understand it and play it and enjoy it. And it's kind of like a simplistic sort of setup, but it's kind of like one of those things where it's easy, it's kind of pick up and play, like it's easy to enjoy it, but you know it's kind of harder to master. So like for like that competitive scene we keep bringing up, like for the more experienced, more veteran players, they tend to get more into the nuances, right, which require you to kind of get into the post game. But for the main game, anyone can sort of pick up and play the game, right, and enjoy it, and that way it's simpler. There's a smaller barrier for entry. So Pokemon Company and Game Freak, they already sort of do that to a degree, and I think that this whole Pokemon Go mechanic is just more of them kind of moving in that direction, finding ways to bring in new people but still satisfying previous audiences. It's been their strategy for years, so I don't think there's anything new.
I do think a good idea to sort of scoop in all of that Pokemon Go audience if they choose to do so. But no idea, but that it would be like to cut certain Pokemon out, at least for right now, like out of the picture for right now, and it would be to like do stuff like Pokemon Go integration, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like reboot.
Another thing I heard, Arrow, James, I'm sure you know who Arrow is as a YouTuber. I saw this on Twitter, but he was saying that another possibility that if this rumor is true about there not being that many Pokemon in the game is that, that this is a new graphics engine, right? That the game looks better, it's a different style, it's more involved, and that the Pokemon we're going to see now are the Pokemon they've worked on, but they still have to work on all the rest, and we won't see those until later on when they're ready. And that's another, we may not be able to trade up some of our older Pokemon into, Let's Go immediately because of that, because those models aren't ready yet to be on the Switch version because they're still developing it. So that might be one way they sort of mitigate the development process by only focusing on 150 or 200 Pokemon as opposed to 800 new Pokemon models, right? So that could be another wrinkle in why they could be going with this strategy.
Yeah. Sounds perfect for a reboot.
Yeah. But Brandon, what do you think about all of this? You've just been like, oh, Pokemon everywhere.
That's so much information. I don't understand. But yeah, I mean, I feel.
I'm sorry, guys.
It's all right, man.
It's no problem. Things happen to everyone. But I would like it, just for me personally, if they kind of went and they made both styles. Maybe if they made a 1 year they make a Pokemon and it's super, hardcore. The battle system's just, pure RPG mechanics, super hardcore in that kind of way. It's still got the same kind of way you explore and you go through the gyms and all that, yada, 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 kind of things like that already doing. But then the next year they go, okay, this one will make a more casual one. Maybe we'll have more of like a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sort of battle mechanics this year, and maybe we'll have more maybe MMO mechanics or something this year, and we'll have like a big explorative world. And then in the next year, for all those people who are like, Pokemon can't change because it's my childhood, they'll go back to the older style and they'll keep changing them. That's what I would like, because personally, Pokemon is, in my opinion, it's good. I'm enjoying Pokemon Moon, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, these are the best games in the universe. I'm like, oh, I see so much potential if they did, made an MMO or made it open world or changed the battle system to be more real time. So that would be more enjoyable for me personally. So I think if they did both, that'd be really good.
Yeah, I see that. Let me go first.
Sounds
okay, go ahead.
Zelda-like. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
Like the radical change in direction and stuff like that. That sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, we heard from a podcast from someone a while ago that Pokemon Company saw the success of Breath of the Wild and what they're doing Mario Odyssey, and they wanted to sort of reboot the franchise, reassess what's important to them, and take that similar strategy and reboot the franchise, and maybe people will like it even more, right? Like Breath of the Wild is attracting a larger audience than beforehand, and it's still satisfying most Zelda fans. So they might be doing something similar with Pokemon as well. I can see that. It's a good point, guys. What I was gonna say something that was just not random, but it was just something you mentioned, Brandon. Like the whole Xenoblade style, and kind of having not Pokemon, but creatures roaming the world. I think that's gonna happen. I'm not sure if that was part of the rumor as well, that we're gonna see Pokemon roaming around.
It was.
Yeah, that is something that I want. I definitely want. That's been something I've been talking about for a while. I think one of the reasons it hasn't happened is simply because of the technology. The hardware hasn't been able to handle it.
And I mean, they've been incorporating that kind of stuff into Pokemon Sun and Moon. I mean, I was playing the game today. There's some times where you go into tall grass and you'll see grass shaking and running around, and you're like, oh, I know that there's a Pokemon right there. Or there'll be some birds flying around and you see a shadow. It's like, okay, don't go into the shadow. But maybe they could go a step further and have them actually be modeled and stuff.
Yeah. And I think there's still... Because here's the thing, I've heard people sort of suggest that, they're gonna miss the random encounters, because that's kind of an element to the Pokemon the way it is now. Like, random encounters play a vital role in finding the right Pokemon you want, and completely going to random encounters repeatedly to maybe get a Pokemon with a better stats, or maybe find a shiny Pokemon or a rare Pokemon. And losing random encounters will affect how that's done. I think it can still be done, but it's gonna affect how it's done. Some people are concerned about that. Now, James, I know, you're more experienced with Pokemon, so I'm going to ask you, what do you think about this? Do you think that, that losing the random encounters will affect the quality of the game? Do you think they'll be able to still have that to a degree? How do you think that'll work out?
I think it would actually... I love it. I've wanted that for a long, long time. I think it would only enhance the... immersion of the game. It would put more of a tracker feel on it. They could still have certain Pokemon in certain routes, but you could actually search for them instead of just going on the grass and hoping it's that one this time. You can actually see, there's that Pokemon I want that I know is on this route. Let me sneak up and grab. Maybe if you sneak up behind him, you get the first move automatically. They have all these mechanics that are already in other games that would easily translate over if you could just see the Pokemon.
And gave me an idea.
Oh, yes.
So we don't know exactly how the graphics are going to be, right? We don't know how open the game is going to be. I do presume it's going to be a little bit more open than the past, at least a little bit more, right? So that might open the door for more exploration, right? So if Pokemon are roaming, what if some Pokemon are sort of running around and you have to track them? What if they introduce a tracking feature? Because some Pokemon are wild animals, right? That's kind of an element of finding animals and hunting and finding bugs and stuff. It's tracking them. So what if they bring in... That's the whole origin of Pokemon, catching insects and collecting them. So what if they introduce that tracking sort of style and mechanic into the game as well, tracking down Pokemon? I think that'd be really cool. There could be, maybe you find footprints, or you see broken twigs or stuff like that, evidence of a Pokemon going through a route. That would excite me.
Poke Monster Hunter.
Kind of like
Poke Monster Hunter.
Poke Monster Hunter. A little bit. Hunter. You wouldn't kill them, but maybe you do follow them a little bit, study their habits. That is something I think they could do.
You can capture monsters in Monster Hunter.
Oh.
Yes, you can. You trap them. You just don't throw a Pokeball at them. And you can chop off their tails and horns and scrape their skin. You can't do that to Pokemon. But yes, it's still similar.
You could.
But to go back to what you were saying about the whole origin of Pokemon being about tracking and bug catching, I feel like the new Pokemon game is going to be a whole lot of the developers really getting out their box of ideas that weren't possible in the past because of hardware limitations, because that's all out the window now. they can do whatever. I mean, the Switch is so much more powerful than, you know, the 3DS or anything they've had before. So, I mean, this is really just going to be them really opening up and just doing everything they can to get the exact experience that they've always wanted. You know, the senior team has been working on Pokemon for 15, 20 years now. So it's going to be really exciting what they come up with.
Yeah. So, to that idea, right, that they could be really bringing a lot of ideas that they've always wanted to do. Like, for most of the time, they have to change around their strategy because of the hardware, right? They have to make concessions all the time. Like, for the original Pokemon, a lot of designs were cut because they didn't have the space to put them in, right? So, keeping all of that in mind, I guess maybe you think this is going to be a really big Pokemon game. Do you think this is just going to be like an HD Sun and Moon? Or do you think it's going to be a bit more open, a bit more of a 3D third-person adventure in HD? Like, what do you... And I don't just mean just graphics, but maybe you could touch that on as well. I mean kind of more about exploration and some of the mechanics that are going into play here. And even camera control, right? We've always had a fixed camera or a camera that we can't control before. And will we finally be able to control our own camera in this Pokemon game?
I feel like it is going to be a lot more open. It's not going to be as linear, not going to be as restrictive. Is it going to be as open and crazy as Breath of the Wild? I don't think so. I would love for that to happen. Oh my! I would go absolutely nuts if they gave us that freedom, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, I think we're going to get a lot more freedom than what we've had in the past.
Yeah, I mean, Sun and Moon kind of got rid of the grid-like structure, right? You can move in more than just 8-way, like angular, like completely have complete free control of how you move. The map's not grid-like. So at the very least, I think that by going back to Kanto, they have to kind of redesign the entire environment already, because Kanto is designed in that Kanto-like structure, in that grid-like structure. So even with Sun and Moon as the base, like if that's the most they're gonna go, they still have to redo how the entire layout is for Kanto. So it's gonna feel really different nonetheless, and I would love it if they could at least get to the point in terms of exploration and movement and openness that there's camera control. It seems like such a simple thing to ask for, but I want camera control this time. Come on, Game Freak.
I think we'll get camera control.
Yeah, which honestly would be really huge for Pokemon. Be huge. So yeah, we could go on for Pokemon for a long time. But, you know, it is getting a little late, so is there any sort of, I guess, final things you guys want to say while I get to the chat? Because some of these guys have some pretty good questions. So we might have a few more minutes to go.
I'm good.
I don't have anything. It's good. Let's listen to questions.
All right. And that could take us in a lot of different directions, too, so we'll see what happens. But, all right, so No Filter's asking, could they really do that if their main demographic is children? The context in my head's missing because I know he asked this, like, a while ago. Could they really do that if their main demographic is children? Like, what part do you guys... You can't answer us immediately, right? But what part do you guys think he's referring to with that question?
No clue.
Well, the main demographic is children.
He just said MMORPG. I'm not sure if that's for this question. Could they really do an MMORPG if their main demographic is children? That kind of makes sense as a question.
I don't think... I think this is going to be a very... It's going to be largely a single-player thing. I don't think there's going to be... I don't think you're going to be able to see other people playing online at the same time. A Pokemon... It's difficult to answer. I really do not see a Pokemon MMO working in the sense that I think he's talking about. I could be wrong, but it's because the Pokemon journey in every game is about you finding your way. You know, it's very much a personal journey. So I feel like having other real people running around doing crazy things in the background sort of takes you out of that experience. I mean, I could be totally wrong. I mean, because I've talked about other things that people love about Pokemon that I want to see changed, and you know, this is just mine that I don't want to see changed. So
yeah.
What right do I have?
kind of agree. Like with like Final Fantasy 14, that's an MMO. Usually with Final Fantasy, it's like a single player thing, and like you're supposed to be this special warrior and stuff. So they're like in the MMO, they're like, you're the warrior of light, you're the warrior of light, and like all 14 million other of you are the one warrior of light chosen to defeat the evil. It's like, well, that kind of does take away from it.
Well, I mean, I think like in terms of kids being involved with the MMORPG thing, like there's a way to do that so you don't, where kids can still play it. Like there are tons of kids who play, I think, different kinds of MMOs. Like I played RuneScape when I was 10, right? Like, so, you know, that's something that they could do, but I don't think it's gonna be an MMO, right? Like a traditional MMO. But we did hear that talk about there being like sort of like a hub world. So there may be a spot in the game that you can access online where you can interact with people in real time, right? And they may include, you know, more situations to interact with characters throughout the game, right? Maybe like a more advanced version of the player search system in Generation 6, right? Like for the player search system in Generation 6, you could have, when you connect online, you have your friend list accessible the entire time on the second screen. You can chat with them, trade with them, battle with them at any point as long as you're both connected online, right? So it is kind of like that constant connection. They might do something like that when you're docked, and it may be a little bit more involved. Heck, maybe they could do some sort of mechanic where there's more like PvP. Like maybe there's certain situations where you will see another character on screen, but not during your normal playthrough. Like it's like some sort of external area, right? Like that hub world is referenced in the rumor. And actually, I think No Filter is saying that. So yeah, I think what Brandon said more about Xenoblade like an MMO, but single player only.
What I was kind of saying too, to answer his question about what exactly I was trying to say, I was thinking of two different ideas, mostly not a Xenoblade like game in an MMO, but like either a Xenoblade type of single player game or an MMO. So you kind of, I guess maybe the way I worded it might have seemed like I was mixing the two. I was actually saying those as two separate ideas.
No.
Go on, Will.
Oh no, I was gonna say, now I think about it, I think a Pokemon MMO would be really good, actually.
I think it could be as well. I mean,
because like the whole idea of Pokemon is like everyone knows the quote, like, you know, you're gonna be the best like no one ever was. Like you're gonna need people other than like generic NPCs with the same like predictable moves to like it just, and that's what made Pokemon Go so special. Like there were other people that were also striving to be the very best like no one ever was. It's almost like a real life MMO.
Well, I mean, like, I always kind of felt like we've always wanted the MMO, right? We've always wanted that. We've always dreamed about it. I do think they Pokemon, like, if you think about Pokemon Go, if you think about what Pokemon is, a lot of it is about interacting with others. So I think going forward, Game Freak's always going to try to think of different ways to create more interactions with people. So I'm not saying we're going to get MMO anytime soon, but I think even this game could have more MMO-like features, right, which we're sort of referencing. So, you know, it's still going to be like a single-player game for the most part. I don't think that will be taken away, but there will be external things. And I would love the idea of an MMO someday, right, like a true MMO Pokemon game. That would be insane, but the same thing about it being Breath of the Wild, like we're probably a ways off from that. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't really talking about the possibility of it actually happening.
Just it being really awesome. Right?
Or when it will actually happen. I just thought the idea was cool.
No, it really is. Like, there's so much that can be done, right? Like you saying, like, there's that having other people around you, right? Like, striving to be the best. Like, I thought that was an interesting point. Like, having more people around you like that puts more of an emphasis on that, which is really interesting. Maybe even competing for Pokemon in an area, right? Like, that's an idea that could come in the future with an MMO where there's a rare Pokemon, and it's not just you competing for it, right? So there's several people competing for that one rare Pokemon. That's an element that we could see, not now, but, you know, someday.
Yeah. Again, it wasn't. But I was gonna get to this later, but you know, continuing to touch on that point where I was like, you know, there should be people other than like generic NPCs. Like it sort of like mirrors the anime. Like you're on your own journey, but you also meet like really, really interesting people Like when I was playing Pokemon Go, I met a lot of really interesting people. It's like, at the end of the day, I want to be better at Pokemon than you, but you're a pretty cool person. So like stuff like that. Like I think that like it would just fit really well with the MMO formula.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I can see that.
Yeah. And I do like what you're saying about with Pokemon Go. It really forced people to meet each other, which is interesting. So, if they can, I mean, even for this game, like maybe they can create certain situations where you have to interact with other players in certain online segments that force you to communicate and meet actual people. That would be really cool. But again, Nintendo's always really coy about like online interaction, right? And like because of the kids, right? So we'll see how that pans out. Maybe they could do something special with that. But
at the very least, I'd like more fleshed out NPCs with better actual like side quest stories and stuff. Because I mean, they kind of sometimes have a little bit of backstory, but it's not. As far as I know, there's never really that much that's super big.
Yeah. Yeah. You could probably like get into the like logistics of how likely it actually is and what obstacles they would face. But like just speaking as like ideally, I would like something like that.
Mm-hmm. It'd be really cool. So let's see what else you guys were asking. All right, there's actually a couple more questions here. So this is separate, but Sal is asking Andres, I have an idea for Smash 5's new title Super Smash Bros. Rumble. What do you think of it? I was thinking of Super Smash Bros. Vengeance, but that sounds a little too dark. Rumble, Smash Bros. Rumble. I saw like a kind of a joke leak rumor where Rumble was there. It would fit. I think it's a decent name. I don't know what they're gonna go with. I'm not even sure they're gonna have like a subtitle this time. They might just go Super Smash Bros. Switch, because eventually they will run out of fighting names someday. But I think it would work. I would be okay with Rumble.
Smash Bros. Tussle.
Yeah, I thought a really funny one. I think it was like Super Smash Brothers, like Kerfuffle or something like that.
Oh my god! Funny. Yeah,
like it was hilarious. Yeah. But I don't think I remember like Kerfuffle or like it was like a really funny word.
I was going to say that fisticuffs. Oh my god.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah, fisticuffs.
Yeah, Smash Bros. Fisticuffs.
Super Smash Bros. Slap fight.
Like a Pokemon thing, they split into two games: Super Smash Bros. Fisticuff and Smash Bros. Kerfuffle.
But then,
which one you get?
But then they'll run out of fighting names. They'll speed up the inevitable, where they'll have to like do something else. Rumble's a decent name, but let's move on. So No Filter's asking for each of you, what is your best and favorite Pokemon memory? That's a really hard question, because there's a lot of them for me. A lot. Do any of you have any that you want to just say off the top of your head?
I guess it was pretty cool that my 5th ever Pokemon I caught was a shiny. That was pretty cool. Shiny.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, when I saw that, I was just like, no, beginner's luck, man. Wow, 5th. I do feel like getting shinies now is slightly easier than it used to be. Or maybe I just have the worst luck.
I looked up the odds and it's still like over 8,000.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I didn't even know it was a shiny. It like sparkled with stars. And
oh man, this one's broken. Like, I'm gonna reset my game.
Oh my.
No, that's really lucky, Brandon. That's you should have.
I thought it was really cool. Everyone in the comments was like, "Oh shit, you got it, it's shiny." I was like, "What?"
It's pretty crazy. That happened on stream. That's just impressive.
Yeah, it was on stream.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got evidence? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just a story. It's real.
I would have to say mine would have to be when I played Pokemon Silver. For some reason, my mind was blown when I actually got to experience like the day and night cycle in that game, and the fact that it had like nocturnal Pokemon. My little young mind was just I stayed up late every night to see what Pokemon was out at night specifically in each area, because it just that one little feature, a day and night cycle, brought so much immersion in it for me. I think that's why, honestly, I think that one feature is the reason why this second gen is one of my favorites. It just so many memories of catching a hoot for the first time in the first route at night, just because I could. It was there. Like the only time it was special in a way, because the only time you could get that.
It made the world feel more real, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, later they added seasons too. It was nuts. But that, I think, just the memory of experiencing day and night cycles with nocturnal Pokemon specifically is one of my favorite memories.
You know, just to bring up a gameplay idea, tagging off of what you're talking about, I kind of feel like a direction Pokemon should head in the future is that maybe they should slow down on introducing more and more new Pokemon and focus more on sort of expanding the gameplay and how you interact and catch Pokemon. Because like what you were saying, one of your best memories is like going in at night, right? Like different time cycle and seeing that there's different Pokemon hiding in different areas, right? Which kind of makes the world feel more believable. So if they were to focus more on that, so maybe the next generation doesn't have 100 new Pokemon. Maybe it's just a few, like several new forms, right, and stuff like that. But they go ham on like creating more different situations to track Pokemon, hunt, and find Pokemon, and you can interact with them in more ways than we could ever imagine, like beyond Pokemon to me, right, where you can like pet your Pokemon. Like if they were to really delve into that, I think you could create a lot more really interesting gameplay possibilities and make it more than just an RPG.
Right.
Love it. I mean, Will was talking about earlier, kind of like saying Monster Hunter, right? Like making a little bit like Monster Hunter, the tracking Pokemon. You know, I think there's a lot of possibilities with that. But Will, since I'm bringing you up, do you have any memories that you want to bring up?
No, not right now.
Okay. Well, I have a couple I want to bring up. One, there was this moment when I'll just say this one first. So, my very first Pokemon memory was when my dad got me like the screen, like the kiwi colored Game Boy Color. That was my first Game Boy. Well, my dad had like a gray Game Boy, but my first like personal Game Boy was like the kiwi Game Boy Color, and I got Pokemon Silver. Like that was my first like handheld game, like Game Boy. Like when I think about that moment, right? Like there was a moment. Funny, like I was not in my bathroom, my dad's bathroom. I don't even know I was in my bathroom. I wasn't there to be in the bathroom. I was just there. But like I was holding Pokemon Silver and just staring at it. I was just like, oh my god, I have this. This is like gonna be this super epic adventure. And then I turn on the game and I see like the silhouette of a Lugia underwater, and it was just like the mystique. And as a kid, right, like that age, like it all just felt like this incredible adventure. And I just felt so grateful. Like I literally felt grateful that I was going to be able to experience that. Like that's how happy I was. Like I was like, oh my god, this game I have to play it. Like I was in bliss just because I could play it. Like it was just, that's like one of my first, that's my first Pokemon game. So that's my first like Pokemon memory. And when I think about it, I almost want to like get teary-eyed because that's how special that memory is to me.
Aw, that's so sweet.
I want to gag now.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's good.
I realize the cuteness of it. Now I want to gag. Ugh.
No, own it, man. You own it.
Yeah. Just one more memory. My first shiny was a Charmander. Charmander fell, but Charmander is my favorite Pokemon.
Charmander, no.
And in the house we were in, this was in Pokemon Pearl. And I just started breeding Charmanders, and my third egg hatched, and the sun was literally rising up, so I was up all night. The sun was literally rising up. At the time, we were living in a house, lived on the second floor, and there's a lake, so the sun was just rising up, so I could see the sun shining on the lake through my window as my Charmander, my very first shiny Pokemon ever hatched. And it was a third Charmander, which is pretty crazy in terms of odds. And I got that Charmander, which is my favorite Pokemon, and my first shiny ever was a Charmander. And I just thought I was like, oh my god, this is a sign by God. Like, how could, like, that's how special I thought it was. I was just, oh, this is amazing. So, yeah, my first shiny was also, by chance, my favorite Pokemon. Yeah.
I'd probably say mine was just probably because I'm assuming he doesn't mean like just the games, but if he did, oh well. I was probably like watching the first episode of the anime back then, like just way back then.
The first episode is so good, and I love that at the end of the first episode.
It was a pretty inspiring anime. Like I would go to school just humming the theme song for like no reason. I would just swing on the swing set, and just humming it. I'm like, what are you singing? I was like, I have no idea.
It's so odd that you mentioned that because my experience with the anime was seeing somebody else watching it, and Team Rocket was there doing, you know, their Team Rocket thing. They're supposed to be all kind of weird out there characters, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is so weird. And so that turned me off for anime till like just last 17 years of my life, man, because I saw the Pokemon anime, and I was like, guys, this is weird, and I never tried it. So that's very weird. It's like the opposite, total opposites for us.
I was a rabid Pokemon fan by all accounts. So I remember when they got to the Indigo Plateau, right? The actual Pokemon League for the anime, like, and it was coming on, I think, it was the Saturday morning cartoons, you know? So, like, this was during the craze, right? I had, like, a Charizard shirt on, and, like, I was just there ready to watch the episode. My mom comes in, right? This is when my mom was still in my life. Like, she comes in, and she says, so the doctor tells me that Pokemon is bad for you. It's of the devil. And I was just like, what? How could this be a thing? Oh, Jory just subscribed. Thanks, man. And welcome. But back to what I was saying, I was just like, what? Like, the idea that she's saying this thing that I love, like, I'm literally sitting there humming, like Will used to hum, like, ready to watch this Indigo like, the Pokemon League, like, Ash is gonna fight, right? With my Charizard shirt on, and someone comes in and tells me that I can't enjoy Pokemon anymore because it's of the devil, and the doctor said so. Like, that was just like, I got really upset. I threw my shirt in the trash, and I had a rant, and then I got over it. I got my shirt back, and they never brought it up again. But, you know, I was a rabid Pokemon fan. Like, I was really upset. I was really upset.
I remember my family did the same thing for Harry Potter, and it didn't go over well. Man,
yeah.
I was so, because I was the same level you were for Pokemon as me and Harry Potter, and it's just like they were like, oh, you can't watch those movies anymore. We're throwing them away. I was like, no.
Man.
So I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon was so crazy back then that people had to come up with reasons for the popularity. Like, it was a cultural phenomenon. It still is, but, you know, back then it was a shock because no one thought that kind of level of popularity with kids could be a thing for a game and a show, but it happened.
Happened all of a sudden, just like, bam.
Yeah. Bam. Oh, so I see Jory says, very good channel. Glad I found it. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And again, welcome, bro. So, yeah, do a whole bunch of Nintendo stuff. Also, guys, make sure to check out James from Slow Speedrun. And if you haven't seen Brandon or Will as well, check out their channels. What About Nintendo and Lowell the Deity. So, yeah, all the links are in the description below. Is there any more questions we got? There's a couple. Let me see. Oh, Jory's asking, do you think a Alolan Pokemon coming to Pokemon Go ruins the exclusivity of Pokemon Sun and Moon on Nintendo? No, I don't think so. I think Pokemon Go was always meant to get, like, more Pokemon on there. And I always kind of thought, well, I guess now that I think about it a little bit more, right, because Alolan's, like, the regional thing, right? And the Alolan Pokemon, the Alolan forms, right, they were like that because they were in Alola. I guess I see that, but at the same time, I think Pokemon Go is kind of like its own thing, right? So it's just kind of like one of those things where, you know, they're going to do it. They're not going to follow the canon of the mainline Pokemon games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys have anything to add to that? Or
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Cool. So Byron said, you guys are so lucky. I have yet to get a shiny Pokemon. I stopped using repels in games hoping that I might encounter a shiny one day. So I, for a long time, didn't get a shiny. And then, even though my first shiny was a Charmander, I didn't get a shiny for years. And I used to be a competitive Pokemon player. I used to like be the president of my Pokemon club at Penn State for a couple of years, and everyone was getting shinies all the time. I was like, oh, I'll never get a shiny. Like, it's just not gonna happen, right? And you know, I guess the only advice I can give you is if you're waiting for it, it's gonna be a very miserable wait. But I used to like breed Pokemon, so like what you do is that you take your Pokemon to the daycare, and there's usually like a straight bike path, so you get on your bike and just go left and right for hours, right? Like that's how people usually breed Pokemon like crazy. So if you do that, you will get a lot of eggs. You can go through 5 eggs, especially if you put like a Slugma or a Pokemon with like the heat flame body in your party, so they'll hatch even faster. But if you do that and just cycle through 5 eggs every like 2 or 3 minutes, you will get a lot of Pokemon. And I guess eventually you'll get a shiny, but my advice is just let it happen. It'll happen on its own. If you expect it or are waiting for it, it'll take forever. Yeah. Actually, James, when was your first shiny if you've gotten one? Actually, you mentioned
I've never gotten a shiny.
No? Oh.
No. Mm-mm.
So you're in the same boat as Byron.
I was about to say that, yeah, I have never caught a shiny. Never seen. I don't think I've ever seen a shiny in game. I've never. Yeah. No.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel pretty awful.
Brandon, you're really, really lucky. You don't understand. James has been playing for years. Years.
This is my first Pokemon game. I was literally the first time I ever played Pokemon. It's like 30 minutes in.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not a shiny expert. I have friends that have way too many shinies, and it's just I don't understand it. But it'll come someday. When you're ready, the shiny will be there. And when it happens, it'll be a special moment that you'll never forget.
Oh, I will never forget it. It's gonna be amazing.
Someday. Maybe it'll be Pokemon Let's Go. Maybe that's when it's gonna happen. So so No Filter is saying he feels the same way. He got a green Game Boy Color, and he remembers playing Pokemon Red nonstop in his little fort under the stairs. Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Good night, Sabbath. I guess that's it. I guess we're done, guys. That's most of the questions. Any final thoughts you guys have on Pokemon Let's Go before we call it a night?
I'm just kind of waiting to see what they do.
Yeah, just keep your eye out. Hopefully this week we got something coming.
Play the waiting game.
Yeah.
Expect the unexpected, the usual.
Yeah, I think hopefully that it's kind of like some of the memories we had, that at least there will be other people. Maybe us as well will get even more special memories of Pokemon Let's Go, to have a sappy little quote to end the night. But again, guys, check out James from Slow Speedrun. Thanks for coming on the channel, man. Really enjoyed having you here, and maybe we could have you on again in the future. Like,
yeah, it's still a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. So
thank you so much. Yeah.
No, but thank you. So, and again, also check out Brandon from What About Nintendo and Will from Will the Deity as well. And I'll say it one more time, the links are in the description below. And if you haven't been here before, make sure to like and subscribe. I do all sorts of Nintendo stuff, including this weekly Monday podcast. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night.
Peace.